Hello and welcome to a special 2016 election edition of Cougar News. I'm Kimberly Pressler.
And I'm Austin Westfall. Tonight we will be giving live updates for all the major races and measures that people voted on today.
First, we turn our attention to the presidential election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. With the polls closed in most of the country, we have a good look at the current results of the race. So far, Donald Trump is in the lead with 244, with Hillary Clinton having 209 electoral votes.
Trump also has the hold on the popular vote as well. Let's introduce our guests. Who are they, Kimberly?
Absolutely. Right now we have our expertise political local experts with us, Phil Gusson and Mike Devlin. Guys, thanks so much for being here. So what do you think about the race so far? Surprises?
Yeah, pretty big surprises. Most of the predictions that were being made before, the idea was that Donald Trump had to win all the battleground states in order for him to have any path to getting to 270. And the way it looks right now, that script has been reversed completely.
Right. It's a different map than any of us imagined so far. The strengths and weaknesses played with certain kind of story about Donald Trump that never seemed to bear out in the polls. You know, we may look back on this and see some kind of narrative where it all makes sense, but right now I think pretty much everyone is dumbfounded. I'd imagine even the Trump campaign themselves, unless they knew something we didn't. A lot of surprises all over the map today.
Right. The success of the Trump campaign in the Rust Belt states seems to suggest that they knew something that the pollsters didn't know, because they obviously are being quite successful. And all along, that was the argument that he was making, was that that was going to be the place where his appeal was going to be strongest, reaching out to sort of disaffected people who've been hurt by globalization, manufacturing jobs have left, that he was reaching out to them. And it looks like his message got through, or at least it's looking that way right now.
Right, a nostalgia for manufacturing jobs that seemed far-fetched to some, maybe struck a chord with a lot of people. Seems to be hitting really well smaller towns, places that aren't quite suburban, aren't quite rural, but somewhere in between. Seem to be across the board the areas where he's dominating with voters. So. Not much to say until we see this break one way or another, but it looks like it's down to a couple of states right now, namely Arizona, and if Clinton's able to shore up places like New Hampshire, we may be looking at a tie, or it may be Trump's outright by the end of the night.
Right, and it's certainly not going to be the blowout that people talked about. There was a lot of talk that this was going to be a very early evening and that we would know very soon when the California polls close who the next president was going to be. That does not appear to be the case.
Certainly not. Certainly not. We may be doubting it even tomorrow out of some sense of denial or confusion. But that's what we're looking at now.
Back to you guys.
Mike, Phil, I just want to ask, what states in particular are the surprises for tonight?
Well, what's happening in the north, in the Rust Belt states, is really what the surprise was. There was a lot of discussion before about people questioning why the Clinton campaign was spending so much time in states that they supposedly had locked down. And then there was a lot of question, why was Trump in there as well if they had him locked down?
I don't remember any real discussion about Wisconsin. Not that seemed serious, at least. You know, Florida was in the discussion that seemed to go back and forth, and that was looking, you know, really, really good for Clinton coming into the week. But Wisconsin, and now that Michigan still hasn't been called, but Wisconsin's the big shock to me.
Right, and the fact that Pennsylvania hasn't been called too is a bit of a surprise. There was a lot of discussion about the ground game that the Clinton campaign had and how organized they were, and Trump didn't have a ground game. The RNC did a little bit, and it still hasn't been called either. So the appeal that he was making seems to have gotten through.
And what does no ground game really mean? Is it possible in this age of just broadcasting everywhere, reaching everyone, that people will just get out and vote on their own?
Well, I will say that people are going to go ahead, the political scientists are going to be looking back at this and scratching their heads and rethinking a lot of assumptions that we had about the way you win elections.
Now, not to go too broad, but how much of this is unique to Donald Trump, do you think? His appeal and his celebrity. Is this just a once-in-a-generation event, or is this the model for a new type of Republican candidate going forward?
Well, it may be in part his unique appeal, and it may be also in part the very high unfavorable ratings that Hillary Clinton had and some of the events that have happened leading up to the election with FBI Director Comey's announcement and all the news that created. And so we have two kind of unusual candidates going ahead and running. One, a very conventional candidate backed by the party establishment. One very unconventional candidate not backed by the party establishment. The normal rules would tell you the establishment candidate is going to win, and it's certainly not obvious that that's the case.
And where does this leave the Republican Party establishment? Are they just out of jobs, or are they irrelevant, or do they just pretend like this never happened and they line up behind him tomorrow morning?
Well, it was certainly the case that as we got closer to the election, the Republicans got on board with Trump after some resistance. I suspect that if he wins, they'll be standing right behind him.
Now, locally, we had a rare case of a sitting congressman in Steve Knight who never endorsed Donald Trump. And I wonder what will happen for candidates who maybe thought it safe to buck the trend and not endorse their party's candidate.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Back to you guys.
Thank you, Mike and Phil, for coming tonight. We look forward to hearing from you as we progress through the night. When we come back, we'll take a look at all the state races, including our local assembly and Senate.
Plus, we'll have interviews with experts and insiders on this election. Stay tuned.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Well, I gotta go, you guys. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Hey, Chris. How are you doing? I'll catch you later, okay?
See ya.
Nice seeing you. Hey, Maddie. How are you? How are you? What's up, girl? I'll see you later. Hey, what's up? How are you doing?
Okay, guys, we're about to go live. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Cougar News.
Welcome back. Today, voters lined up at the polls to cast their votes. Some candidates also took the time to vote today as well. Let's take a look.
The day has come. Californians line up to cast their votes. Candidates of local races began their day early.
We started the day up in Palmdale. We had a great canvas kickoff with a bunch of volunteers and supporters going out knocking those last-minute doors.
Christy Smith joined college students at COC as she waited in line to vote.
My daughter's a student here now. I used to work here at the college, so I'm so excited that this is my polling place and I get to be here this morning for this really great day.
Coming towards the final day of the race, candidates feel at ease.
At this point, I kind of get a zen on election day because I know that I did everything that I could, and I trust the people of Santa Clarita, and I am very comfortable with the decision I think they're going to make.
Regardless of the final count, Smith feels honored to have been a part of a very important election year.
It's exciting. It's been a lifelong goal of mine, and to be on this ballot with potentially the first woman president of the United States is very exciting. And I think what we're going to see as potentially a wave election of our really diverse community coming out and voting this time around. It's a great election to have been a part of.
Brian Caforio feels thankful to have the right to vote.
You know, this is the most important step we can take in our democracy. You get to stand up every, 2 years, 4 years, whatever the case may be, and show with your voice what direction you want the country to take.
For Cougar News, I'm Briseda Holgan.
The race that has become the most talked about this year with a big sexual harassment accusation in the middle is the 38th State Assembly race. Candidates Dante Acosta and Christy Smith have been pitted in an incredibly heated race for the chance to take Scott Wilkes' former seat. Reporter Briseda Hogan tells us more.
Santa Clarita, Simi Valley, parts of Soledad Canyon, and San Fernando Valley are all combined to form the 38th Assembly District. Currently representing the district is Republican Scott Wilk, whose term ends this November. The two candidates running up are Republican Dante Acosta and Democratic Christy Smith. Acosta's small business background gives him insight on how the economy works. This, along with his experience in city council, forms his campaign.
I'm running to bring some balance back to Sacramento. There's too many things going on up in Sacramento that are detrimental to our business, that are detrimental to jobs, and certainly that are hurting us in the public education area.
His opponent runs with confidence of an educational background.
I currently serve as a Newhall School Board member. I'm in my second term in that capacity, and I have been an elected delegate to the California School Boards Association, and I've also served on our local trustees board as a legislative vice chair. And I attend political workshops whenever I can, but what is very evident is, based on term limits now, the number of people in our state legislature with significant public policy experience in the field of public education, they're terming out.
Each candidate's top priorities differ. Smith's priorities deal with education.
I think it would be this idea of best practices and how do we share that information and make sure that we are equipping teachers with the best possible knowledge.
Acosta hopes to keep businesses within California.
It shows that 60% of the new jobs in the next 10 years in Los Angeles County and in the region are going to be service sector jobs. Those are now forced minimum wage $15 an hour jobs. Those are not the kind of jobs that people in Santa Clarita are going to be able to stay here, afford to live here, because our state and the leaders in our state have been pushing businesses out of this state.
Acosta tried to say Smith will vote along party lines. Smith says she would vote according to what the district wants.
It's a challenge. I mean, I will have a much greater challenge to govern than my opponent will. My opponent would have the freedom to go and be a no vote on anything he doesn't agree with. I'm really going to have to study in depth every bill that comes in front of me and make the decision that I think A, is best for my constituency, and B, makes the most fiscal and financial sense.
New developments in the race. As of last week, Acosta claimed his opponent has racially attacked him.
I'm a businessman, city councilman, and a Gold Star father. Yet my opponent is trying to cast me as nothing more than a Mexican two-bit thug.
A blog, Esclarita.com, released a post acknowledging Republican officials were aware of sexual harassment allegations involving Acosta. The same blog then released an email written by the accuser. Acosta has not had the opportunity to talk with Cougar News, even after several attempts. For Cougar News, I'm Briseda Holgan.
The 25th Congressional District has been a heated one, with candidates receiving endorsements from major political figures. This is the first in at least a decade that a Democrat has a chance at winning the House seat. Sammy Giebers was able to talk to both candidates about the race.
I think that Social Security was a bad idea. I do. I absolutely think it was a bad idea.
Congressman Knight stated that he's not a fan of Social Security. I am.
The 25th District congressional race has turned out to be a heated one.
He's tried to run a campaign that just isn't true. and not to mention a close one, with LA Times questioning whether Republican candidate Steve Knight is the most endangered incumbent in the House of Representatives.
And I think a lot of it has to do with what's going on at the national level. This is an exciting presidential election, and I think it's making people pay attention all the way down the ballot. Growing up middle class, they taught me to work hard and stand up to bullies.
Democrats are serious about taking control of the House, and President Obama
I'm with Brian because he'll take on the big bank.
has endorsed Democratic candidate Brian Caforio.
He'll fight Republican efforts to privatize Social Security.
With the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, endorsing Congressman Knight. Caforio has released other memorable ads,
He won't even make exceptions for women who've been raped or abused,
including ones trying to tie Congressman Knight to Donald Trump.
Okay, I'm positive that is Donald Trump. Wrong. Congressman
I
Knight.
think that he has tried to make a rift in between me and the voting woman.
Women thrive, America succeeds. And that's something Congressman Knight doesn't seem to understand.
One of Caforio's biggest criticisms is that he is new to the district and moved here a short time before the election.
I think it's an issue. I do. You're just coming in and saying, well, I want to run for Congress, then I'm gonna say that there's a problem with your passion, and there isn't commitment.
Voters have two very different candidates to choose from, with focuses on different areas.
We said, this is what we're going to work on. We're going to work on aerospace, veterans, small business, water. This is the things we're going to kind of be our bandwidth.
So many people agree with the message we're putting forward, the message that we need to defend women's health and women's equality, the message that we need to push for comprehensive immigration reform, that we need to strengthen and secure Social Security and Medicare.
And with a race involving what many are calling the most vulnerable incumbent,
We're pretty simple. We're almost a broken record. We talk about the same things and work on them and get things accomplished.
we are looking at a very suspenseful election day. For Cougar News, I'm Sandy Giebers.
A race of East versus West, the 21st State Senate District has put Santa Clarita Valley Republican Scott Wilk against Antelope Valley Democrat Jonathan Irvin. Reporter Heather Harbin was able to sit down with Scott Wilk to find out more about the race.
The seat in California's 21st State Senate District is up for grabs this election. Close to 1 million people live in this district, covering most of the Santa Clarita Valley as well as the Antelope and Victor Valleys. Republican Scott Wilk is battling Democrat Jonathan Irvin for the seat, previously held by the late Sharon Runner. Unlike his opponent, Wilk has a history in politics and currently represents California's 38th Assembly District.
I think I greatly reflect my current district, and my views, I think, reflect the majority in the new District 2. I would not have run for this seat if I didn't feel like, I was the right person.
Some of the issues Wilk wants to tackle include job creation, energy policies, education, and transportation.
A couple things I plan to work on. First of all, I have a great bill that's going to be a backup plan for the Cemex mine if the BLM decides to go forward with it. My bill will guarantee that we're going to have public input, which hopefully makes it economically unviable. And then two, I'm working with Assemblyman Tom Lackey. We want to bring a UC Institute of Aerospace to the Antelope Valley. Space is going to have a major impact on our future. That'll be a real magnet for investment in R&D, which again are high-paying jobs. So those are two of my priorities moving forward.
Wilk says he feels more pressure in this election. A loss for the Republicans will further alter the balance of power in favor of Democrats in the state Senate.
The majority opinion in the legislature currently is progressive. So they want higher taxes, they want more, they want to regulate every aspect of your life. And I stand counter to that. I always come in with the attitude, let's try to get to yes. And if I can get to yes, I will. And because of that attitude, and the relationships and trust I've built with colleagues on the other side of the aisle, again, I've been able to deliver.
Reporting for Cougar News, I'm Heather Harbin.
Wilk's opponent, Jonathan Irvin, will also be calling in later tonight. Now we'd like to take a look at some of the local elections. We have some numbers in.
I don't think we have the numbers just yet, so why don't we go over and talk to Phil and Mike a little bit about this Wilk-Jonathan Irvin race. Oh, it looks like we have some numbers coming in now. Let's start with the U.S. House 25th Congressional District race with Steve Knight and Brian Caforio. And right now it looks like Steve Knight is ahead with 54.9% of the votes. We're going to move on to the California 21st State Senate District with Scott Wilk and Jonathan Ervin. We get 57.1 with Scott Wilk.
And the 25th Congressional and the 38th, State Assembly District, Dante Costa currently has 54.2%, Christy Smith at 45.8%. I want to swing over to our local experts now. What do you guys make of those numbers?
Well, go ahead, Ben.
Oh, sure. I think a lot of these numbers are right in line with what we've been expecting. These are all competitive races. This is a pretty small percentage compared to most elections of voters that have been counted so far. I did some quick math. I think about 15% of the ballots that will end up being cast in this election have been counted. So all of these show pretty competitive elections so far. The one exception, at least what we're seeing so far, again, we're kind of grasping here, is Scott Wilk is outperforming relative to his registration disadvantage in the district. He's probably the most talented campaigner politician of these three races, and experience certainly, so that he's outperforming pretty well. Not a huge surprise to people who follow it closely, but will probably leave some observers scratching their heads. I think with these other two races, I think we'll certainly have a long night ahead of results trickling in.
So in the 25th Congressional District, Steve Knight was considered one of the most vulnerable incumbents. Does it appear that that's the case?
Yeah, it would certainly appear so. I think if I'm recalling correctly, 4 years ago when this was incumbent Congressman Buck McKeon was challenged, I think he may have been leading by 19% right at the first set of results, and that gap ended up closing to like 9 or 8%. So this is pretty tight. If I'm Steve Knight, I'm not very comfortable right now. And if I'm Brian Caforio, I have some reason for optimism. So this is right in line, I think, with what we were expecting.
And in this race, a lot of money was poured into this particular campaign, didn't it?
An incredible amount of money. In some cases, more money was coming in a single day than we typically see an entire election in this district. So it's a kind of thing we've never seen, an amount of mail we've never seen. Been hearing anecdotes of people in Orange County hearing and seeing broadcast ads for this race. There was just that much money in it. That's what happens when national parties decide that your little corner of the world is a battleground. So we've seen a lot of that, and that's true in a lot of these races. 38th as well. Ton of money.
And in the 38th, it got a little bit sordid. We kind of mentioned that previously. It turned into something of a soap opera.
Yeah, sure. You have one candidate kind of claiming the other is racist. Another one facing some allegations from a few months ago of sexual harassment. And, a lot of these things kind of lingered out there, and they seem to affect other races as much as it was their own. And a real clash of personalities. I don't know that we have a greater contrast in personalities than we do in this race. Not unlike the maybe the difference in personality between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. It was kind of one of those races, and also really close. And it's one that I think the Assembly Republicans are nervous over, because this probably would have been a sure thing for Scott Wilk if he had stayed in this seat, though it probably meant that he would have they would have passed up the opportunity to win the 21st Senate. So,
and does Scott Wilk look like he's on the road to victory in the 21st?
I would say of any of these three, that's the one that looks more likely. That's going to be a 14-point spread I'm seeing right now. It's going to be pretty hard for Jonathan Ervin to make up. But, it's a different sort of district. You may have a different balance when it comes to election day voters versus vote by mail voters. So I may end up eating my words, but that's the one certainly looking most comfortable for now, which is ironic because it is technically a Democratic district by some margin. I think by last count, something like a 9% spread or something like that. You know, if you're looking from afar, it looks like a Democratic district, but.
And by the way, I don't think you're going to be the only person eating words when it comes to this election, so you might be okay in that regard. Now, also, the 27th Senate district also, it comprises about 20% of the Santa Clarita Valley. What does it look like in that race?
Okay, so this is an open race. Henry Stern versus Steve Fazio to replace Fran Pavley. Fran Pavley had a closer than expected run for re-election 4 years ago, so Republicans have targeted this race more so than you might expect based on the numbers. But based on what we've seen so far, Stern's lead is pretty comfortable, and I imagine he's going to pull this one out. We've seen a little more of Stern than we've probably seen at Pavley her entire time up here. So everyone's getting in on the fun campaigning in Santa Clarita this year.
Back to you guys.
We'll be taking a quick break, but when we come back, we take a look locally to the races only in SCV.
And still to come, we'll be sitting down to talk with Shawnee Badger, who is a delegate for Bernie Sanders.
This is how you say, "It's going to be okay," to someone who just lost everything. That yes, we'll find you somewhere to stay. And yes, your children will have breakfast. Every 8 minutes, the Red Cross responds to a disaster and makes this promise. Help us keep it.
They've been very caring. They care about every single student that's in the class.
Yeah, everyone seems to be like pretty friendly with each other. Like, no one's really afraid to ask each other for help.
Working with other people, not being ornery, actually, listening to what people say, collaborating with them to create a really good product.
It's great to use the same stuff the pros use, especially at a community college.
Hopefully we give them a pathway to have their creativity showcased.
I've gotten a great education.
I love the access to equipment.
I've made lifelong friendships.
I have great teachers.
What? This? Watch.
It's estimated that California will need 11 trillion gallons of water to end this 4-year drought.
Since 1994, COC has made an effort to ensure all structures on campus are built with earthquakes in mind.
The importance of accuracy is key to Paul Bond's reporting. Such a story where facts could be easily exaggerated might just cause Bond to return back to South Korea.
Although filming at College of the Canyons generates upwards of $1 million a year.
Today, everyone is here to celebrate one thing: life.
More than 3,000 participants ran locally in support for finding a cure for spinal cord injury.
What are you doing? Go watch the news or something. Awesome town, I swear.
Hello, Briseda Holgan here.
And I'm Andrew Gold. We're at Democratic headquarters at Golden Oak Pavilion.
We'll be talking to candidates of local races who have pulled through long and difficult campaigns.
Also, later we'll be talking to Brian Caforio and Christy Smith as they await the results of their respective districts. Stay tuned.
Hello everybody, my name is Sammy Giebers and this is my partner, Sade Easterling.
Yes, we're actually getting ready to head out to Robinson Ranch to go report for the night.
We will be talking to a lot of the Republicans, and it seems like a lot of these races could be pretty close. So you'll definitely hear from us later in the night.
Definitely. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you. For the first time ever, the election is being held in November, and how will this change How will this change the results? Yet to be seen. Now let's take a quick look at the first 5 candidates that filed for this election.
As your council member, I would work tirelessly to provide workable solutions for our everyday problems. I ask you to join me on a path to success. Vote Alan Ferdman, and together we can and we will make a positive difference right here in Santa Clarita.
It's been an incredible journey. I can't say enough for what is going on in this city. I'm proud to have been able to serve on this city council for so long. I have not been a hands-on or a person who's sat on my hands. I've been a person that has been working very, very hard, and I shall continue to do that.
It's important that we have at least one member of the City Council who can offer the perspective of a majority of the residents in this city. I'm the only candidate, not just here, but all 11 candidates, and even including the current City Council members who have kids in elementary school or even junior high school. So as you're making decisions for the future of the city, it's important that someone can provide a perspective that represents a majority of the city. I am that person, and I am that candidate.
I look forward to bringing a fresh perspective to the City Council. A couple things I'm really aggressively in favor of is expanding the city into one valley. Most people don't know, I did an interview with the press the other day, and they weren't aware that before we became a city, we tried to become Canyon County. And the idea was, prior to cityhood, is become one city and control everything inside what are now our limits and outside our limits. So if elected, that'll be a top priority.
Well, I will continue to what I've been doing for the last 4 years, and that is listening very hard to what the people have to say. And then all the issues that come before me, I study them. I study them very, very hard. I read through all the readings so that I know everything I'm talking about.
We have a live interview with Bob Keller. I want to throw it out to our field right now.
I am with our current mayor, Bob Keller, who is running for City Council yet again.
Once again.
So I was wondering if you could start off by reflecting on your time as mayor. What kind of contribution do you feel like you've made?
Well, you know, I got to tell you, it's what a tremendous honor to be able to serve the city of Santa Clarita as a mayor. This was the 4th occasion I've had that privilege. And this last year, I've focused on a lot of things. I think amongst working on things that are ongoing, the Whitaker-Burmite, the CMEX issue, traffic concerns, always public safety. All of these things are very high on our scale of importance, of course. One of the things that I was particularly proud of this year was being able to bring forward a program called the Santa Clarita Heroes Program, where we have recognition and banners in our city where we acknowledge people that are currently serving in the military. And I just feel so good about that. To me, it's just a great thing to accomplish in our community. And as you know, we've always been very, very sensitive and appreciative of all of our veterans as we look back in our history.
So it seems like you're proud of your accomplishments.
Honestly, I am. I would not be doing this if and I mean this very sincerely. I am having a good time. Oh, there are times when you sit there and you think, golly, what is going on? And I'm a little disappointed in this or that, or sad to hear this. But as we look at the big picture, I'm telling you, what a privilege, what an honor. And I honestly tell you, I have tried my best to be a good steward for our citizens of Santa Clarita. And I plan on continuing to do so too.
So do you have anything that you want to concentrate or push if you're reelected?
I will tell you, I really want to stay on top of the CMEX matter. We have been battling this now for over 20 years. And it continues to, shall we say it this way, the ribbon's not on the package yet. We've got to win this. We are so close. And I am very optimistic that we're going to get that accomplished. The Whitaker-Burmite, and that's that 996 acres right in the middle of our valley. We are so close to getting it cleaned up and getting it signed off by the Department of Toxic Substance Control. This is huge for our valley. And these are important issues. I have tried to do my best in helping to shepherd through that process. And I'm very optimistic that in the not too distant future, we're going to be able to say we won.
Thank you very much. I hope that I hear from you a little bit later on in the night.
You bet.
But for now, we're going to toss it back to Austin and Kimberly. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sammy. Our college's Board of Trustees election has also been changed as they have moved to the Trustees District. Only 2 districts this year will be on the ballot. For Trustee Area 2, Xander Blake was able to sit down with incumbent Bruce Fortine and Dr. Adele Alonso to discuss their position in the race.
I am Adele Alonso, and I am a candidate for the Santa Clarita Community College District Board of Trustees.
My name is Rhonda Baldwin Kennedy. I'm a mother of 3.5-year-old triplets.
I am Bruce Fortine, and I'm president of the Board of Trustees of College of the Canyons.
I've actually noticed around the campus, there's a lot of issues for students like with disabilities, like them trying to access things. I've noticed there's ramps going places where they cannot reach.
We need to take care of our students, and that includes the disabled students on campus. And in fact, there have been issues and complaints by students through the years. They haven't all been addressed.
You don't spend $800,000 and still in the end you're at the same result you would have been if you would have settled, and that's what you do. I mean, that's what I'm trained to do. As an attorney, I know, how to negotiate and how to settle when you need to settle, for the benefit of your client.
One of my opponents in a mailer said that there were 5,000 charges against us. Not true.
There actually was a lawsuit by a student, and the district denied the claim. There was $850,000 spent on attorney's fees. They lost the lawsuit. They had to settle. And in fact, as a result of that, the findings from the investigation revealed that there are 5,000 plus violations of the American Disabilities Act on campus.
I am a founding board member of College of the Canyons. I was here on the first day. I hired one of 5 board members that hired the first president and set the foundation.
I'm always for the best interest of my clients. That's what I'm trained to do. That's my job. That's my ethical duty. I am bound by the rules of professional conduct to do that. If it doesn't align with my interest, so too bad. It's the client's best interest. I would take that same view with the community. It's in the best interest of the community, of my constituents.
One of the reasons that I'm running for the board is I had been a counselor here for 16 years. I retired a year ago. And during my stay here, I became involved with lots of different committees, and I was elected by the faculty to be their academic senate president.
Thank you very
much. Thank you.
It's wonderful meeting you again.
My pleasure.
For Trustee Area 4, the race has come down to incumbent Michelle Jenkins and Canyon Country businessman Jerry Danielson. Xander was also able to sit down with these candidates to hear their positions.
I'm Michelle Jenkins. I am the seat holder for District Area number 4 in the Community College Board of Trustees.
My name is Jerry Danielson, and I'm a candidate for the College of the Canyons Board of Trustees. It's District Area number 4.
This is one of the first times that people have had to actually campaign to get a seat on the board. What do you think about that?
It's a good thing, probably, to shake it up a little bit. I considered running before, so this isn't a new, bright idea. And I believe I can provide a fresh sort of perspective, a fresher insight. I bring a lot of business experience with me.
One of the things I do very well, I believe, is I am a real consensus builder, and the Board of Trustees can't do anything without having a consensus.
The people on the Board of Trustees are community members to help make decisions regarding how that taxpayer money is spent, and there are some other decisions, there are approvals made regarding teaching and the way things are run here.
I see what happens to colleges that don't have stability in leadership in terms of the board as well as the chancellor. Colleges that have turnover on the board and have turnover in their chancellor or superintendent positions are the colleges that struggle.
I think that it is a time for change. And so I do ask for the people to trust me and give me a shot.
And right now we have a live interview with Jerry Danielson, so we're going to send it out right now on location with one of our reporters.
Yes, we are standing here with Jerry Danielson, who is running against Michelle Jenkins for the COC Board of Trustees. Jerry, what is your outcome of the night? Like, what do you think will happen?
I actually have no idea what will happen. I know that I worked hard at campaigning. I tried to put forth a positive message and tell people what I thought, and I put myself out there. We did sign waving, and we did some flyers and some mailers, and I went around and talking to my neighbors and introduced myself and just tried to be positive and you know, what my goals were as far as running for the board here at District 4.
Awesome. And what is your goals to pursue if you are elected? What is your goals to pursue for COC?
There are a lot of them, actually. I'd love to see just everybody coming together and working as a team, the students and the faculty and the administration and the rest of the board members, and just trying to lay out a positive vision for the future. It seems like sometimes there's some stuff going on, and it'd be great for everybody just to get along, you know. As far as, you know, everybody says students first, but that's an important thing, students first, you know. And I've been talking about transparency and accessibility and responsibility, Measure E passed, so a responsible way to make sure all that is going to the right places. You know, there's a lot there.
That's great. And what are the major issues at COC that really stick out and that you would like to change?
Well, when I speak to the students particularly, one of the biggest issues always seems to be waiting lists and class availability. And of course, it takes money to hire more teachers, and there's some classrooms being built, of course, at the Canyon Country campus. But to just make, that seems like a major issue right there. And the idea that when somebody has allocated 4 semesters worth of time to go to school and a certain amount of money, and then what if they can't get all their classes and then they have to go an extra semester? There's an opportunity cost there. There's also a financial cost having to go an extra semester. So there's a lot of extra things involved with not always getting your classes, and that's what I hear the students talking about all the time. And parking. Parking is a big issue actually at both campuses, but luckily, you know, there are good plans for that, and we would want to make sure that those plans stay put, you know, and make sure that all works out.
More results coming in. Let's look at the graphic. So right now we're looking at the Santa Clarita City Council, rather. Bob Keller has 26.45% of the vote. Cameron Smythe following with 24.69%. Tim Ben Boydston at 13.99%. Mark White, 2.90%. And Alan Ferdman finally with 8.64%. Paul Wiezerek at 2.04%. Kenneth Dean at 6.77%. David Rules at 2.45%. Brett Haddock at 2.68%, and Matthew Hargett 4.42%, and Sandra Nichols at 4.995%. Moving on to the College of the Canyons Board of Trustees, District 2. Bruce Fortine is at 40.65%, Idel Alonzo is at 37.35%, and Rhonda Baldwin-Kennedy, 22%. Now, finally, COC Board of Trustees, District 4. Michelle Jenkins is at 58.68%. While Jerry Danielson is at 41.32%. So, Mike and Phil, I want to ask you, are these the kind of results that we were expecting to see in these races?
Well, I don't know what we were to expect. This is brand new. These were competitive races when it comes to the Board of Trustees, and the City Council's a whole new thing. Usually we have these in April. Small elections, you know, turnout is in the very low 2 digits, and now we've got tens and tens of thousands of people who have never voted in a city election. And, you know, we're seeing the familiar names carrying. You never know how it went. Bob Keller's leading, as he did last time. Cameron Smythe returning to the City Council, coming in a pretty strong second. It looks like that's going to hold. It's been an interesting race. It's kind of like having 3 incumbents for 2 openings. And, you know, when it comes to the COC race, my goodness, this changes things because, you know, I don't even remember the last time Michelle Jenkins had to run a campaign, you know, challenged for an election. Bruce Fortine probably hasn't had a really competitive campaign in a very, very long time. Right now, these look like significant challenges from challengers that had a lot of backing from the CTA, COC, faculty union as well, and even the local Democratic Party endorsed, I believe, both candidates. both challengers in both these races. So we'll see how this holds, but this could really shake things up.
Do you think this is going to leave some hard feelings when this is over?
Oh, yes. I can imagine so. It's a board that operates in a more insular fashion than the others in the community. The seats are generally not treated as political chips like some of the other boards are. And, there's a certain, for lack of a better term, ivory towerness to it all that's been above the fray. And suddenly, here everyone has to fight in the common political mud. And the board hasn't been immune to that. You've got a sitting board member who has endorsed challengers in these races, in both races. And that's happened before, and that usually doesn't lead to long-term harmony, to say the least. So we'll see how this shakes out by the time the evening is over.
Back to you guys.
When we come back, we will have more about some of the propositions that are on the ballot.
Plus, we'll have early results as the votes are being recorded. Stay tuned.
The American Red Cross urgently needs blood and platelet donations and asks donors to schedule an appointment to give now. Every 2 seconds, someone in the United States needs blood. Your blood donation is critical and can help save lives. Please, schedule an appointment today. Download the Blood Donor app, visit redcrossblood.org, or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. You can make a difference.
They've been very caring. They care about every single student that's in the class.
Yeah, everyone seems to be pretty friendly with each other. No one's really afraid to ask each other for help.
Working with other people, not being ornery, actually, listening to what people say, collaborating with them to create a really good product.
It's great to use the same stuff the pros use, especially at a community college.
Hopefully we give them a pathway to have their creativity showcased.
I've gotten a great education.
I love the access to equipment.
I've made lifelong friendships.
I have great teachers.
What business has excellent customer service, smiling employees, and great food? Topper's Pizza Place. Eat more pizza.
Are guns a danger to society or a means to protect ourselves? The gun control argument remains a constant topic of discussion. Here in California, the push for more control continues in Proposition 63, that pushes for more background checks and a cap on magazine sizes. Reporter Taylor Enns and Tim Strong report.
Another mass shooting, another school shooting, more preschoolers getting shot in this country every single year.
One of the most controversial topics being talked about this November is the issue of gun control and Proposition 63. Cougar News spoke with Mike Devlin to go over why this is such a highly disputed issue.
Proposition 63 has a wide variety of gun control measures, the most notable being the requirement that ammunition is both sold by a licensed dealer and that people buying ammunition must pass a background check similar to what they have to pass when they're buying guns.
Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, who developed the bill, says that California needs to be a pioneer in terms of ammunition acquisition, and Prop 63 is designed to do that.
It's just curious to me we're not debating background checks on ammunition. You can't get Sudafed without using your ID, but you can buy unlimited rounds of ammunition anywhere in California because there's no licensing requirements. I believe we should treat ammunition the same way we do guns, and if we pass Prop 63, California would be the first state in the nation to do that.
Attorney Tony Zanotti sat down with us to speak about the potential issues with Prop 63. He says that there is little we can do to combat criminals who are likely to acquire the weapons they need any way they can.
you're going to create a class of individuals. Let me tell you right now, the cartels and the bad guys, they're not going to give up their guns. Okay, what happened in San Bernardino? I listened to the whole thing on the scanner, and they were well armed, and it was well planned, and they had an agenda. This has been going on for decades.
Reporting for Cougar News, I'm Taylor Enns.
Colorado and Washington were two of the first states to fully legalize marijuana with varied results. California is now looking to follow them with Proposition 64. But is the new potential law everything pot smokers want? Reporters Jacob Sykes and Joshua Thomas give a closer look.
Proposition 64 is the ballot measure that, if passed, will allow adults 21 years or older to own, grow, and consume marijuana. The proposition states that if you are of age, you can grow marijuana in a non-visible area that is locked from the public, carry up to 28.5 grams of marijuana flower, and 8 grams of concentrated marijuana. Taxes would be placed on the plant at $9.25 an ounce for flower and $2.75 per ounce for leaves, but protects some medical marijuana from taxation. Supporters of the proposition say that legalizing recreational use will lower the black market crime rates and provide a good start to ending the war on drugs.
I guess from a tax basis, it is a good thing. It will generate a lot of revenue, but I'd like to make sure that it goes to the California General Fund.
Opponents say that this proposition will allow marijuana to be grown near schools and will cause more people to try it.
I feel like we shouldn't because, it might just entice, people who are just like, people.
Just like potheads.
Yeah, entice potheads or like people who haven't tried it before to try it.
For Cougar News, I'm Josh T.
The death penalty has been a long-standing sentencing for some of the worst criminals in our society. In recent years, however, many have argued against it, saying it is morally wrong and too costly. Proposition 62 is seeking to repeal the death penalty, while 66 will shorten the time for those on death row to appeal their sentencing. Reporters Lori Bashian and Brissetta Holgan give us a closer look at this controversial issue.
While everyone remains up to date on the presidential election, the propositions on the ballot this year have gotten less attention. One issue being addressed this year is the existence and amendment of the death penalty.
Proposition 62 essentially is calling to end the death penalty. Proposition 66 is essentially trying to amend the death penalty system.
Proposition 62 aims to eliminate the death penalty, making life in prison without the possibility of parole the ultimate punishment for any crime.
On average, it takes about $38 million if you average out the cost to go ahead and execute somebody, and that's just a tremendous amount of money.
College of the Canyon students have mixed feelings about the reform, believing the death penalty is morally wrong, but sometimes necessary.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of factors that play a role in it, and it's just, I don't think we should live like an eye for an eye.
When someone is sentenced to death, their case starts its journey through the appeals process, which can take many years.
What Proposition 66 would do was it would go ahead and limit the amount of time that can take to 5 years.
According to Phil Gusson, the last 6 people executed in California were on death row for 20 years before they were executed.
I think if you keep the death penalty, that's definitely going to be required. It's kind of like filibustering the death penalty, which is kind of weird.
For Cougar News, I'm Lori Bashian.
After the controversial condoms for porn law passed in San Bernardino, California is now looking to make it statewide. Proposition 60 would require all adult films made in California to have their actors use condoms. But what are the downsides? Mauricio LaPlante tells us all.
Our bodies are choice. Despite Prop 60's seeming safety precaution for performers to wear condoms, many across the California adult industry are against the prop because of its citizen arrest clause and narrow approach to safety.
It's not a condom law.
Yeah.
So I think our issue with Prop 60 is that it's incredibly misleading to voters. They want folks, the proponents of the initiative, want folks to think it's about safer sex, health and safety, all of those things that sound great, right? But if you look a little closer, you'll very plainly see that this is not about safety. This is about harassment.
According to performers, the citizen arrest clause can allow any viewer who believes the actors are not using condoms to sue the producers of the film.
Not only do they get to sue, but they also get incentivized a 25% reward to file lawsuits against us. Now, you'll read it and you'll say, well, the performers are exempt, it says right here. But if you go a couple lines further, you'll see where it says anyone with a financial incentive holds a liability to that.
But proponents for the prop, like Derek Burtz and the AIDS Healthcare Foundations, argue that condom use should be mandatory to prevent the spread of STIs.
All you want to do is push condom use as a sole fix when we know they break, they tear, they actually, and also especially with what we do for a living, they actually can cause abrasions and they can cause tearing, which then opens you up to possibly more infection.
At the end of the day, the adult film industry is not anti-condom, not anti-regulation.
So when you say, is it Cal OSHA's job to protect performers, or should it be of their own volition, the performers?
I think it's a combination.
Yes.
I think that, as a woman, I'm the expert on my body. No one should be able to tell me how to protect myself and what choices I get to make or not make about my sexual health.
The proponents for Yes on Prop 60 were unable to speak with us.
We have more election results right now. Let's take a look at Prop 57. That allows parole consideration for nonviolent felons. It authorizes sentence credits for rehabilitation, good behavior, and education, as well as provides juvenile court judge decides whether juveniles will be prosecuted as an adult. Right now, we are at 65.4% yes on that.
Now let's move on to Prop 60, where Adult Films Condoms Health Requirements Initiative. Now this requires adult film performers to use condoms during filmings of sexual intercourse. You guys just saw the package on that, and right now it is sitting at a no at 53.3%.
And Prop 61, which prohibits states from buying any prescription drug from a drug manufacturer at prices over the lowest price paid for the drug by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. Right now we have a 53.8% no on Prop 61.
And moving on to Prop 62, which is the death penalty initiative, which repeals death penalty and replaces it with imprisonment without possibility of parole. Right now we are looking at a yes with 45.6% and a no at 54.4%.
Prop 63 is the firearms prop. It requires background checks and Department of Justice authorization to purchase ammunition, as well as it prohibits possession of large capacity ammunition magazines. Right now we're at a 63.3% yes vote.
And Prop 64 will legalize marijuana under state law for use by adults 21 and older. And right now that is yes with 56%.
Prop 66 is the death penalty, and that's going to be it changes procedures governing state court challenges to death sentences. Right now, Prop 66, that's a tight one. That's 51.6% yes. Well, we're going to go to our experts now, of course. Mike, Phil, what do you think?
All right, Phil, where to begin? Okay. Let's start with guns. Proposition 63, it's leading radical change in laws to ammunition and firearms in California. We've had something similar pass in the legislature. What's the difference between what we voted on today and what passed over the summer?
Well, what this is about is regulating ammunition, but also the size of magazines, bringing ammunition from outside of the state in, and then setting up a process whereby which people who are not supposed to have guns, felons in particular, it sets up a process whereby which they go ahead and set up a procedure where the state can monitor the guns, make sure that the guns are retrieved or given to a dealer, things like that. So that's what the voting is on, and although the percentage of the vote that's in is relatively small. It looks like it's getting overwhelming support.
The support seems to be higher than you might expect. Very often we deal with this, dichotomy in the debate and these, reluctance of officials to pass gun control laws. This goes a whole lot further than most states will go. Is California on course for a challenge at the Supreme Court? Is that by design? What do you expect we'll see here?
I don't know if there'll be a challenge as far as this goes, because the courts have allowed the states to go ahead and provide some kind of regulations on the kind of ammunition that's sold. So I don't know that I necessarily see something being imminent. I do think it's interesting in terms of sort of the way California is. We certainly, when it comes to, and it depends on where these returns are coming from. So
right.
One part of the state, there'll be parts of the state that are very strongly in favor of this, and parts of the state that are going to oppose it very strongly as well. So we really should, before we make any assumptions about what's going to happen, wait and get more results. But just looking at these results here, it looks like what you would expect from a blue state, right? Totally in favor of gun control. But then when you look at the death penalty, right? Where you think California is this liberal state, blue state, and yet getting rid of the death penalty seems to be losing right now. Again, we still need to wait for more results, but California likes its death penalty.
Yeah. We like our really harsh and serious sentencing, 3 strikes death penalty that seems to never be going anywhere. Now, this brings up an interesting thing because you have 2 somewhat contradictory measures on the death penalty. Do you think voters really understand what's going on? Have there been any studies that show how voters behave when they're faced with contradictory measures on the ballot as we are here?
Well, I don't know of any studies, but just in anecdotally speaking to people, and over the course of the few weeks leading up to the election, I did a number of presentations in the community explaining the propositions, and so many times I would explain, especially 62 and 66, and at the end people would raise their hand and they would say, so if I vote yes, that means what? And if I vote no, because the way it works also in California is because both 62 and 66 have to do with the death penalty, whichever initiative gets the most votes wins. So they can, in theory, both pass.
So they cancel each other, one cancels the other out entirely.
It's like a game of rock, paper, scissors, and whichever one wins, that's the one that prevails. And so we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Isn't that something? So assuming that the 62 weren't on the ballot, would death penalty opponents be in favor of what's offered in 66, or is that generally pushed by proponents of the death penalty?
Right. I think death penalty opponents are going to have trouble with 66. And when you talk about the constitutionality of laws, I'm dubious that 66 could pass constitutional muster. What it does is it puts a limit on the amount of appeals, the time that somebody can appeal being on death row. And it's an understandable idea because over the last 6 people who've been put to death in California, the average time that they were on death row was 20 years. So the idea of limiting the amount of time that you can be on death row and the appeals that you can ask for, it makes sense. The problem is that the Constitution guarantees due process of law. And I don't know that that the Supreme Court's going to accept the idea that at some point you run out of time.
Right.
Sorry, we gave you as much due process as you're going to get, and now you're out. So.
Yeah, they never seem to be too keen on states making their own rules when it comes to due process for an irreversible decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly.
And especially with our knowledge of the Innocence Project, we do know that some people have been put to death who turned out to be innocent.
Now,
but you know what? I think we'll throw it back to the desk. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much, guys, for that insight. Up next, we'll give you an updated results on all the elections.
And I will be sitting down with Stephen Daniels to discuss local races. Don't go anywhere.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. and move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Well, I gotta go, you guys. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Hey, Chris, how are you doing? I'll catch you later, okay?
See ya.
Nice seeing you. Hey, Maddie. How are you? How are you? What's up, girl? I'll see you later. Hey, what's up? How are you doing?
Okay, guys, we're about to go live. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Cougar News.
We're now back with Stephen Daniels. You're the host of Talk of Santa Clarita podcast. You're a local podcaster in the Santa Clarita Valley.
Yeah, the Talk of Santa Clarita.
The Talk of Santa Clarita.
You got to get that D in there because otherwise I'll never find the website.
Right.
The talkofsantaclarita.com.
So, who are you? Do you consider yourself a political type guy or more just a normal dude?
I classify myself personally as just another idiot with my own opinions, my own stupid opinions. But I care about politics quite a bit, and a lot of, and I like talking to people. You know, a lot about the podcast itself is, I don't pretend to be dumb when I ask a lot of the questions. I mean, there's a lot of talking about, you know, people assume that, a lot of the people I talk to assume that you know everything about Whitaker-Burmite or the CMEX issue or whatever. And a lot of times I'll go, well, dial that down a little bit and explain a little bit more to the average person who's never heard about CMEX, and kind of try to take that approach. I just try and stay curious and ask questions that anybody would ask about what's going on in the city.
Right, and you've interviewed many of the candidates we're discussing here tonight. Yeah. What's your impression of them?
Which ones? There's so many of them.
Well, you know, I guess what I'm asking is, what's your opinion of this political season here in Santa Clarita? Is it unique from the other ones you've covered?
I think it is, because I think the Democrats have or had, nothing's over yet, but a real strong impression that they have or had a real good chance to take seats. And then I think what was interesting, and I don't know, I'm curious what Mike has to think about this too, is there. It was a national attitude from the Democratic Party to associate any candidate, any Republican candidate, with Donald Trump. And it didn't really hold water in a lot of cases. You know, Steve Knight had disavowed Donald Trump. Regardless of whether Dante Acosta running against Christy Smith is like Donald Trump or not, I don't think the voters care. I think they care about the issue specifically. And one of the things that I was kind of interested about or curious about was because I think Christy Smith has a real good shot or could win just on her merits as a candidate. So that's kind of, you know, on the more national elections and statewide elections, that was kind of my impression of what was happening. It was trying to make the Democrats seem to want to try and associate everybody with Donald Trump.
Well, Stephen, you spent a lot of time with a lot of these candidates early on, before they were cool, so to speak, when they were indie candidates, and you know, you got them to spill their guts over the course of an hour or so. How does it feel seeing an election that's a little more one-dimensional, but yet so much bigger than you expected?
I don't know. It's sort of my Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Because every time I talk to a candidate, I walk away kind of going, well, would I vote for him or not? Because the podcasts themselves, really are my opportunity to talk to the candidates as long as I possibly can, and to kind of make my own personal decision. I don't hide my politics on the show, and anybody who listens to it knows where I usually stand on politics. But I keep an open mind whenever I'm talking to any of the candidates. And it's interesting to kind of see what their vibe is like, how they are. Scott Wilk, for example, really struck me as a really likable person who wasn't shy about talking about things. He was honest, and it struck me as honest about what his opinions and thoughts were. Alan Ferdman's another great example of that. And Chrissy Smith just blew me away with how knowledgeable she was on the issues themselves. So it's interesting to kind of see what my impression is, having talked to them for an hour each or longer, and then see how the voters feel about these candidates, because they frankly, unless they listen to every week of the podcast, they don't have the opportunity that I do to talk to these people like I have. So,
is there a particular prop that caught your eye this election?
I think I was most curious about Prop 61, just because the issue with prescription drugs, it was an interesting battle, because you watch the ads, and you were looking at veterans talking about how it was going to affect them versus Bernie Sanders, who was saying how great the proposition was going to be. And I think reading over it's a tough call to really say which was the right side to choose from. So ultimately, I think it kind of came down to veterans versus Bernie Sanders in the race, who was going to vote which way. And it looks like, I think right now, that they're voting with the veterans.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Do you feel like you have a pulse on the community here in Santa Cruz Valley?
No. I mean, the guests on the show that I have are people I'm curious to talk to. And I hope that when I have somebody on, the people are interested in hearing from them. Now, ironically, the people that I think are going to be the ones that people want to hear the most from are usually the lowest rated shows. and conversely, the ones that I think, nobody will want to listen to this one, nothing wrong with the person or anything like that. It's just, it's not a hot topic or a hot button issue. And you'll find that, the numbers for those listens are up through the roof. And it always surprises me, because I just can't seem to make a call as to what people really want to hear. Now, people can send emails and suggest shows. Can I plug the emails and let them know? The talk of Santa Clarita at gmail.com. If you want to suggest a show, please send me an email. Let me know. So, what
shows do you find people are most interested in?
What
the political type shows?
Well, we recently did some debates. We did one with Knight and Caforio. And that was a pretty high-rated show. But I think that was kind of unique, too. What I think people find most interesting are when I have just people on, that just talk about their political views. One of the highest-rated shows we had was an extreme right-wing conservative character who's on Facebook community pages all the time. Yep. And I just let him talk for 90 minutes about what his beliefs were, and I asked him why he thought the way he did. And it was one of our highest-rated shows.
Maybe it's because I'm on Facebook more often, but does the community seem to be more engaged in this election than we have seen before?
I think we always have that kind of illusion. It always seems so hot, and then you get out there and find that a lot of people aren't paying a whole lot of attention. But I think with all the mail and all the signs and everything, it's a different story. And I think Stephen may relate to this, kind of a disconnect. It feels like this bird we've let out and it's flying on its own now. There was this world of paying really close attention to every little thing, and now it's just these big names and small issues blasted really, really loud. Now, has anything surprised you with these results? I know they're early, but what's the local result that's really just...
I think the one I'm most surprised with is right now the city council race. Mm-hmm. You had Bob Keller and Alan Ferdman and Tim Ben Boydston and Cameron Smythe all kind of as the most known names in the race, and essentially they were running as a co-ticket. You had Bob Keller running with Cameron Smythe, even though you voted for him independently, and you basically had Tim Ben and Alan Ferdman running together. I mean, you would see their signs next to each other, wherever that was, and the same thing with Bob Keller and Cameron Smythe. But after the electronic billboard issue happened, there was a lot of question about Bob Keller and his connection with the populace. And a lot of people believe Tim Ben Boydston and Alan Ferdman have a real connection to what the general public want to do, people that are active in the city and care about the city on a high level. And right now I'm kind of surprised by where the showings are right now on that election. So yeah, I'd say probably city council race is the most surprising at this point. So,
Alan, I'd like to thank you for joining us. Where can people find the Talk of Santa Clarita?
The talkofsantaclarita.com is the main place, the website. They can also find it on iTunes or Stitcher, and also on Facebook, facebook.com/The Talk of Santa Clarita.
Thank you, Stephen, for joining us.
All right, appreciate it.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have more live election results.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Well, I gotta go, you guys. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Hey, Chris. How are you doing? I'll catch you later, okay?
See ya.
Nice seeing you. Hey, Maddie. How are you? How are you? What's up, girl? I'll see you later. Hey, what's up? How are you doing?
Okay, guys, we're about to go live. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Cougar News.
Welcome back. Some early results have made their way in, and we have them for you. Voting is now officially closed in all 50 states as Donald Trump seems to extend his lead that no one really expected. Right now, he has 244 against Hillary Clinton's 215 electoral votes.
Shocking election night. Mike, Phil, what do you have to make of it?
I think you summarized it very well. Shocking. It looks like the results haven't moved for quite a while. You guys are reporting the results from CNN, but also Fox have slightly different numbers, but it's still the same thing. It appears that Donald Trump is he's certainly well positioned. I haven't seen anything new to change what's going on. Hillary Clinton needs to win everything in order to go ahead and pull this out.
I don't have much more to say. I think we're all kind of gathering our thoughts, and a lot of us maybe haven't contemplated this. It just seemed unlikely for a while, even though statistically it was, enough things were kind of close. You wouldn't bet your life with those kinds of odds, but this is something else.
Yeah, particularly surprising is that Pennsylvania hasn't been called. They made such a big push. The Clinton campaign made such a big push in Pennsylvania and in Philadelphia in particular to get the vote out. And there was a lot of talk about the collared counties around Pennsylvania and how Clinton was going to sweep that because there were so many women who were bothered by some of Trump's rhetoric, and yet that doesn't appear to have happened. And she's winning in some of those counties, but it's not the blowout that a lot of people expected.
You know, I can only say on a gut level that never rang true to me. My dad's from Montgomery County. I grew up in Montgomery County and the city of Philadelphia for a time, and a guy like Trump connects with the people there in a way that Californians can't relate. He doesn't connect with me, I'll be honest, but I can see family members where that kind of talk, that particular type of plain-spokenness connects to a not necessarily political voter out there in a way that may be difficult for people to appreciate from the outside, and I never really understood the narrative. Obviously, not being there right now, not polling the area, obviously, it didn't seem to me that they were writing off Bucks County, Montgomery County, Chester County, Delaware County. I always thought he had more of a chance than they were saying there, so I'm not surprised to see Clinton coming up a little short there.
Right, and it does appear that she's ahead in all those counties,
right.
But in order to offset the rest of the state, she didn't just need to be ahead.
She needed to win big.
Yeah, and that doesn't appear to be the case.
Yeah.
And same thing in Philadelphia. They were trying to bank a lot of votes in Philadelphia, and I don't know if they got the number that they needed to go ahead and offset the rest of Pennsylvania as well. So
well, and of course, all this Rust Belt stuff we're talking about, the stuff that's allowing Trump to be competitive in Michigan, that's allowing Trump to probably win Wisconsin and Ohio. That's the same pitch that works in Western Pennsylvania.
Right.
I mean, that is, it's essentially, you've got a northeastern section and a Midwestern section, and I'm sure he's cleaning up in that Midwestern section of Pennsylvania. And I can't imagine anything that Clinton could have done better as a campaign. In retrospect, we can see weaknesses, but it looked like they were doing everything right in Pennsylvania.
Right.
And
although there's going to be a lot of questions asked later after this campaign about what could have been done, it's still open to who's going to win and whether or not Trump's going to pull this out. But what looked like it was going to be a short night could be tomorrow morning. Back to you guys.
We have an updated result on the state. Yeah, that's going to be on the Senate race. That's going to be Kamala Harris at 66.2%. I also want to note that it looks like Republicans are going to control the Senate after this election, and we have a possible Republican president. How was this going to affect the political landscape going forward, guys?
Well, what it appears we're going to have now is, a Republican-controlled Congress, a Republican president. It's going to be an opportunity for, you would think it would be the opportunity for them to go ahead and act in a unified manner, and yet at the same time, to characterize the Republican Party as unified right now is a bit of a stretch, and so it's hard to know exactly how they move forward. If Trump does pull this out, you've got a president who is not supported by the establishment. The establishment is firmly in control, maybe not even firmly in control, but heading up the House. But they've got insurgent members. I don't know. Where does it go from here?
Oh, right. I mean, Trump can whip up a lot of support in the Republican caucus in the House. And although Paul Ryan offered his begrudging support, is that going to be enough? Trump always made it known when Paul Ryan wasn't giving him enough respect. And suddenly you've got, Trump can probably control a major faction of at least the House more than the majority leader and the Speaker of the House can. That's going to make for a really interesting dynamic, not one we've seen in a while. And they've got the Senate's got a, wide open Supreme Court nomination that they're going to take up. And who knows what they're going to do with all this talk? Is the filibuster going to remain in effect? Or are there enough nervous Republicans who are nervous about Trump as much as many Democrats are, who are going to want to preserve as many of the institutional protections in the Senate as possible?
Right, and there was a discussion about if Hillary Clinton won, they would rush Merrick Garland through as a nominee for fear that Hillary Clinton would nominate somebody more liberal. Now, it looks like the strategy of going ahead and putting that nomination on hold might be very effective. And then to add to that, come 2018, the Republicans almost certainly increase their size in the Senate because of how many Republicans and Democrats are up for re-election there.
Right.
So the prospect of a filibuster-proof Senate and a Republican-controlled House with a Trump presidency, that could change the dynamics in a huge way.
Huge, as you'd say.
Absolutely. So it's hard to know what the future holds in case like this. Again, it's still up in the air as to who's going to win the presidency, but.
Yeah, let's not go there just yet. But we've got a few minutes.
But as somebody who likes to just look at the numbers and make judgments based on that, the numbers look better for Donald Trump than they do for Hillary Clinton.
Much better.
Absolutely. Back to you guys.
Thanks, guys. We have a few more local updates right now, and let's start with the U.S. House 25th Congressional District race between Steve Knight and Brian Caforio, and right now Steve Knight is in the lead with 54.9%.
Moving on to the California 21st State Senate District race, Scott Wilkes in the lead with 57.1% over Jonathan Ervin's 42.9%.
And we also have the 38th State Assembly District, and right now Dante Acosta is in the lead with 54.2%. Mike, Phil, did you guys think that this race was going to be as close as it is?
Yeah, this is a difficult point in the night where we're just sitting here. These are competitive races, and they were the results aren't moving much, and they may not move for a while. So we'll say it's competitive. I think overnight we're going to see some movement decisively, but probably not until then. It won't be until the midnight hours. But that's not unusual. You follow the propositions, you probably see this a lot. Things flip overnight.
Yeah. So back to you guys.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. Later in the night, we still have Shawnee Badge. She's going to come in and she's going to speak with Kimberly Pressler. We'll be back after these words.
The American Red Cross urgently needs blood and platelet donations and asks donors to schedule an appointment to give now. Every 2 seconds, someone in the United States needs blood. Your blood donation is critical and can help save lives. Please, schedule an appointment today. Download the Blood Donor app, visit redcrossblood.org, or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. You can make a difference.
They've been very caring. They care about every single student that's in the class.
Yeah, everyone seems to be pretty friendly with each other. No one's really afraid to ask each other for help.
Working with other people, not being ornery, actually, listening to what people say, collaborating with them to create a really good product.
It's great to use the same stuff the pros use, especially at a community college.
Hopefully we give them a pathway to have their creativity showcased.
I've gotten a great education.
I love the access to equipment.
I've made lifelong friendships.
I have great teachers.
What business has excellent customer service, smiling employees, and great food? Chopper's Pizza Place. Eat more pizza.
We have updates for the City Council and the Board of Trustees races. Right now, the Santa Clarita City Council sits with Bob Keller on top at 26.45%.
And Cameron Smythe, is sitting at 24.69%.
Tim Ben Boydston is at 13.99%.
Mark White has 2.9%, and Alan Ferdman has 8.64%. All right, with those updates, guys, that looks like those two are pretty set, don't you think?
So, and you know, in case it's not clear, top 2 go on. It's a weird thing. Next race will be top 3 go on. I wonder if this model is sustainable. I think any kind of election question that takes more than a sentence to explain to a voter isn't one that's long for this world or a good idea generally. I wonder if we'll see districts by, you know, in 2 or 4 years like we have with the COC seats.
Yeah.
But, you know, otherwise, until more results come in, there's not much that we can really go on.
Right.
So
the two people who are on top, were they the people you would expect to be leading?
Yeah, they had the most money. They were the establishment choice. Cameron Smythe comes in with something of a war chest from his legislative accounts. And of course, they got all the kind of normal money that would ordinarily go to incumbents. Tim Ben Boydston, also an incumbent, but didn't really have access to those funds because he's a different sort of incumbent, more of a rabble-rouser, bomb thrower, anti-establishment type. And this will really change the dynamic of the city council because Boydston was very much of a contrarian, devil's advocate, counterpoint, and you know, to a council that kind of agrees on a lot. So will they find new ways to disagree with this new dynamic of, you know, 5 sort of establishment types? Or if, you know, Dante Acosta happens to win, that's a vacancy they'll have to fill. And usually when boards fill vacancies, they fill them with people who resemble the other 4, you know, kind of safe, boring choices. And so we may have just a boring city council going forward. What's usually the most colorful sort of meeting in town. So that's the headline of that.
What's the process of filling the vacancy?
Well, they have a choice. They can call an election, which is very expensive, or they can appoint. And, you know, they have to appoint, open vote, and they went through a process last time, ironically enough, when Cameron Smythe was elected to the Assembly. Very same seat Dante Acosta is running for. And they went through some method where they came to a stalemate, and they had, like, you know, 6 rounds of voting before choosing this guy who was just the, you know, the choice of that was left over. And it turned out interesting, but.
Interesting. Well, back to you guys.
Well, thank you guys, but don't go far because right now we're going to get some feedback on the Board of Trustees on everything that's happening with them right now, and then we're going to talk more to you guys. So CSC Board of Trustees District 2, Bruce Fortine is in the lead with 40.65%, Adele Alonzo 37.35%, and Rhonda Baldwin Kennedy at 22%. So it looks like Fortine might be in it this time again.
He's going to keep chugging along, ain't he?
Guys, what do you think?
These are pretty much the same numbers that we had before, and so it's hard to know what this means, where the results are coming in. So we're just going to have to wait a little while and go ahead and see how this is going to shake out.
Right, right. You know, we may only have 10, 15, 20% of the ballots in, and when people vote, can really make a difference because sometimes, especially challenger campaigns, they don't really get moving in time to target the early vote by mail people. It's the people who are voting later who really get hit with a campaign that either has endorsements later, has money later, or really just gets its act together later. So usually the less experienced campaigns get better later on, and they'll see that in the results. So those poll voters, you know, may really change the shape, just in ways you don't even expect sometimes.
Right. And I know that some of my students were waiting till the last minute to go ahead and vote, so they may be.
Oh, right. I mean, you know, even with vote by mail, how many vote by mail people just love waiting until the end, especially in this race? You never know it. I mean, this election this year, you never know what's going to happen. So, you know, why Why end the story too early? A lot of people love the thrill of just voting there at the last minute. I certainly do. I couldn't imagine voting early.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, guys. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by The Hollywood Reporter's Paul Bond. He has an interesting perspective on this election. See you in a second.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Well, I gotta go, you guys. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Hey, Chris. How are you doing? I'll catch you later, okay?
See ya.
Nice seeing you. Hey, Maddie. How are you? How are you? What's up, girl? I'll see you later. Hey, what's up? How are you doing?
Okay, guys, we're about to go live. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Cougar News.
Quick update on the elections. In LA County, 11% of precincts have reported in, and for the state, 35% of precincts have came in. Paul Bond is joining us now. He's from The Hollywood Reporter. Paul, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Thank you for joining us.
Hey, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, Paul. You've been in Hollywood all night covering the election from the Republican stance. I'm sure it's been a pretty crazy evening for us. What's it like over in Hollywood?
Yeah, my job was to cover the minority, and Republicans are a big minority in Hollywood. So I was at a secret location because Republicans in Hollywood aren't nearly as forthcoming as Democrats in Hollywood. So I was at a secret location surrounded by a bunch of Hollywood conservatives who work in the film and television industry, and they were pretty darn excited, but reserved for most of the night because this thing hasn't been won yet, and it probably won't be won, at least the media probably won't call it until tomorrow.
Well, speaking of the media, you were part of the media, but you were also pretty conservative. What are your thoughts? Did you see this happening or no?
Well, hey, I'm just an unbiased journalist, but
Yes.
close to the Hollywood conservative movement because there's not very many journalists who have sought out the Hollywood conservative movement. So that's why I stand out, and that's why my reporting stands out. But yeah, they were not. They were not surprised, but they also were prepared for a loss. They were just hoping that if Trump loses, that at least the movement he created, this anti-establishment, anti-politically correct movement, pro-American movement, would survive beyond him. So that's what I was hearing from a lot of the people who were at the parties that I was at tonight. And the presumed victory, it was just like icing on the cake for them. They got more boisterous as the night went on, and some are beside themselves thinking, wow, I can't believe this happened. You know, a couple of years ago, he was a joke, and he was a game show host, and now he's going to be president of the United States and really shake things up.
A lot of people are really shocked by that. Do you feel like the media picked one candidate over another?
Absolutely. The media was far more favorable, their coverage was far more favorable toward Hillary Clinton than it was Donald Trump. They couldn't help but cover Donald Trump, so he got a lot of free press because he was so newsworthy. But if you look at how they covered him compared to her, her coverage was far more positive, even if it wasn't as voluminous as Donald Trump's.
You know, as you mentioned that there's this kind of anti-establishment movement, and since the media did cover Hillary Clinton so favorably, do you think that resonated with people and kind of hurt her a little bit?
Say that again?
Just because the media covered Hillary Clinton so favorably.
That's an interesting question. Yeah, there's always backlash. When the public notices that the media is being unfair, there is a backlash. You know, years ago when George Bush ran, you know, he had a bumper sticker that said, "Annoy the media, vote for Bush." And that's kind of repeats itself every 4 years. Republicans make the claim that you can't trust the media is biased, and therefore annoy the media, vote for me. And that played very well this time around because it was really kind of obvious that the media favored Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump.
There's a number out there. What percentage of the media is left-leaning?
About 87%.
87%. Why is the media so inherently left? Why is it towards the left?
Geez, I wish I knew you were going to ask me that. I would have prepared because I'm not really sure why that's the case.
It's a naturally occurring thing.
It's a naturally occurring thing, just like it is with your college professors. It's about the same number. 87% are lean left. It's just those two industries. You know, they want to change the world. Liberals want to change the world. You know, conservatives want to preserve. So, hey, I'm a liberal. I'll go into journalism. I'll go into teaching.
Well, we are very honored to have someone who is unbiased media sitting with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. It was great to have you here and get some insight. So right now we're going to take it to commercial, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
The American Red Cross urgently needs blood and platelet donations and asks donors to schedule an appointment to give now. Every 2 seconds, someone in the United States needs blood. Your blood donation is critical and can help save lives. Please, schedule an appointment today. Download the Blood Donor app, visit redcrossblood.org, or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. You can make a difference.
They've been very caring. They care about every single student that's in the class.
Yeah, everyone seems to be like pretty friendly with each other. Like, no one's really afraid to ask each other for help.
Working with other people, not being ornery, actually, listening to what people say, collaborating with them to create a really good product.
It's great to use the same stuff the pros use, especially at a community college.
Hopefully we give them a pathway to have their creativity showcased.
I've gotten a great education.
I love the access to equipment.
I've made lifelong friendships.
I have great teachers.
What business has excellent customer service, smiling employees, and great food? Topper's Pizza Place. Eat more pizza.
Our Cougar News field crew is at the GOP party in Robinson Ranch. I hear we have some video. Let's take a look.
Recording? Okay, so could I have your full name? Could you spell it out for me?
Stephen Knight, S-T-E-P-H-E-N, K-N-I-G-H-T.
All right, thank you very much. 5, 4, 3. I am with Steve Knight, who is the incumbent for the 25th congressional seat. Can we start off by, how does it feel to be a part of a race that's in the national spotlight? Both you and Brian Caforio have received major endorsements from the president and the Speaker in the House. So how does that add to the pressure?
Well, I wish we weren't in the national limelight. I wish we could get to doing the people's business, but the way politics are and the way the registration has gone in this district, it's gotten very, very tight, and so it's become a national race. So I think after tonight, whoever wins can get working on the people's business, and we can get away from the politics a little bit and start getting some things done.
Now, it seemed before today that this race could be pretty close. Now you do have a lead. People were cheering behind us. But how has that affected, how you ran your campaign, knowing that the district changed a little bit from 2 years ago?
Well, it's early. It's very, very early in the race, and I think it'll fluctuate quite a bit. We've tried to stay on message. We've tried to stay on the things that we are very good at. We're very good at aerospace, we're very good at Veterans Affairs, and we're very good at small business. And that's kind of where we've worked with folks from the other side of the aisle. We've gotten bills passed and signed by President Obama, so that's kind of where we have kept our bandwidth. But that's just part of getting somebody in office that is going to work on the issues and stay focused and not get scatterbrained and try and do 100 things and never accomplish anything. We stay very focused so that we can accomplish and we can complete some missions.
Now, Caforio has released a lot of memorable ads, and a lot of them are trying to tie you to Trump, and you've said he's kind of trying to get you to look like something you're not. So how fairly do you think he has represented you?
Well, I don't think he's represented me very fair at all. I think this has been a difficult presidential race with Secretary Clinton and Mr. Trump. It has been a race where we're trying to figure out who would be best, and we're trying to figure out who would lead the country. Now, I've made no bones about it. I have voted for Donald Trump for president, and I've said that many times. But I've also said that I'm going to run my race, and I'm going to go win this race for the people of this district. So when I said something like I wasn't supporting, it didn't mean I wasn't voting for him or I wasn't, there. It just meant I'm running my race, and I've got to go out and win my race, and that's what's important to make sure that we hold the House. But it looks like it could go either way in the presidential arena right now, so we'll see.
Now, how do you think the Republican Party is going to interact after this? It seems like Donald Trump has kind of made this shadow that walks over you guys. People try to tie him to you. Do you think that the Republican Party is going to have any trouble kind of finding who they are after this race?
Well, I don't think so, because either way it is, you're either going to get President Trump or President Clinton. If one loses, they're going to lose by a very small margin, by probably a state. And so it's going to be close, and the parties are going to have to figure out their way after this. But I have no problem on November 9th that we're going to move forward, we're going to try and do the people's business and work together.
Thank you very much. I hope to talk to you later as the night goes on and the numbers change. So I'll take it back to Austin and Kimberly.
Thank you, Sammy. Right now we're going to move on to an interview with Michelle Jenkins.
We are here with Michelle Jenkins, who is going for COC Board of Trustees. How is your night going so far?
How is it going so far? I think it's going well. You never know until you start seeing numbers, and the numbers aren't starting yet for the local races. But shortly I'll know. But I feel pretty good about it. Been working really hard on it for the last, since the filing period closed, going everywhere I could and talking to people, everyone I can. And I've had a really good group of campaign volunteers that have helped me by making phone calls and that kind of thing.
And if you're elected, what is your ultimate goal for COC?
I think to continue the path that we're on. I've been a member of the board for a while, and I helped with the passage of the last bond measure in June, and we were really lucky and appreciative of the fact that the community supported that passage. So we have to make sure that we follow the guidelines that we set out in the bond measure of what we're going to do with those dollars. We already started the parking lot in Canyon Country, the paving of it was one of the first things, and now we've got plans for the first permanent buildings in Canyon Country. at the Department of State Architect's office, and also we're beginning the remodel at the Valencia campus. And so I think it's good for me to still be there to maintain and be sure that the dollars are spent as we said they would be spent.
And what are the ultimate challenges at COC that you think can be changed or that you want to change if you were elected?
Well, I think we're doing a good job of opening more and more sections for students. We really feel that's important to cut down on the waiting list times, because we know that that's been a factor, and we've done that, and we'll be able to do that more when we get permanent buildings at Canyon Country with more space. So, but we are doing that, and we have wonderful faculty who are willing to take extra students in their classes if need be, and that's really helpful to us. So I think those are the challenges, though, because we're one of the few community colleges in the state of California that's continuing to grow, but that's also a testament to the leadership of the college, and in part I feel I'm part of that, in that we're able to offer what's needed to the community and to students.
That's great. Well, it was great speaking with you, and I hope you have a great evening. Nice to meet you too.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Back to you guys in the studio.
We have some more results. Let's take a look at them. COC Board of Trustees District 4. Right now we have Michelle Jenkins at 58.68%. She's leading Jerry Danielson 41.32%. Our field crew got an interview with Dante Acosta. He's running for the 38th Assembly District. Let's take a look.
I am here with Dante Acosta, and you are running for the 38th State Assembly seat. Awesome. So can you start out by reflecting on your time as Mayor Pro Tem and your experience on the City Council?
Absolutely, and it's been a wonderful time serving the community on the City Council. Mayor Pro Tem's been wonderful because I've been able to work very closely with the mayor on a lot of issues. For example, the budget subcommittee we worked together on, the budget of the third largest city in Los Angeles County. It's truly been an honor, but when this seat came open, it kind of fell to me to step up and run for this seat because I was the most qualified candidate, frankly, that was running, and I felt it was very important to represent this area. Santa Clarita is a big part of the district. It's almost half, and I'm from this area. I've been here for 30 years, and then I'm from another part of the district where I was raised, so I really know the district well. I have a lot of experience that's practical, so it really lends itself to serving on the council, and that experience translates very well to the state legislature.
So how have you pushed Santa Clarita in the right direction, and how do you think you'll continue to push it in the right direction if elected?
I'm one of those people that tries to build consensus. So I've worked very well with the remainder of my council members. We've got a council of 5, and we've got a kind of a diverse school of thought. So whether it's behind closed doors in closed session or in individual meetings or, actually out on the dais, what I try to do is find out where everybody is and see how we can actually reach agreement, because we agree on far more, whether it's on a council or whether it's nationally or, of course, in the state legislature that I hope, based on the early returns, that I'm going to be able to serve. One of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure we look at what do we have in common and what are we trying to achieve. And that's what I always try to do on the City Council. So whether it was balancing the budget, pushing very hard for the new sheriff's station, working hard on that, the new downtown Newhall projects that we're doing and the renovations and the things there. I worked very hard with others to make sure that we're pushing things in the right direction as opposed to having projects fall apart that are very meaningful and important to the community.
So how do you feel overall the campaign trail has went, and how do you feel about the last couple weeks? I don't know if they've been rocky for you, or has the entire thing been rocky? Do you feel like it's been a smooth sail?
Yeah. Well, campaigning is tough, and you think about it. This is, somebody told me, look, you've just entered big boy politics or big girl politics. Let's face it. This is the 6th largest economy in the world, and I want to be a member of a state legislature of the 6th largest economy in the world. So you have to go into it with your eyes wide open that this is not going to be an easy ride. There's going to be people that want that control or that power, and the other side certainly does that. I'm very disappointed that we weren't able to talk as much about the issues that I think are my strengths. Instead, I was trying to defend against attacks that were senseless and frankly completely false. And so instead of being able to talk about jobs in the economy and good paying jobs for our young people such as yourself, or whether it was water infrastructure that's so important in a drought, or certainly our public safety issues that are vital right now in California, we've got crime rates going up. Those are the things that I'm very, very adept at. And of course the economic issues. I've been in business for 35 years and I understand the economics and the business climate, and those are the things that we should have been talking about. Instead, we were talking about things that really don't have a lot of meaning to the constituents and frankly to what's going to happen up in Sacramento.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to you a little bit more as the night goes on, as the numbers change. But for now, we're going to toss it back to Kimberly and Austin.
Thank you again, Sammy. You know, Austin, over the past week, on the 38th District Assembly that you just saw with Dante Acosta, between him and Christy Smith, it has been a highly charged race this week. It's been a little bit crazy, wouldn't you think?
It's been a very interesting race.
Phil, Mike, can you tell us a little bit more about why that has happened?
Well, where to begin? They don't seem to care for each other very much, if you pick that up. You know, right at College of the Canyons, they had their first debate, and they really came out swinging from the beginning. And interestingly enough, right in that debate, they were both trying to be open and managed to stumble in their own ways and provide fodder for attack ads to last forever. And you know, I always wondered what it would be like if we got one of these big, expensive, fancy campaigns. And it's been a little disappointing. All these things have been really, we get these scary commercials and scary mailers, and then the backlash to it. Then the, okay, you were too mean to me in my mailer. And then, you know, of course, we have this allegation of sexual harassment that comes up. And, you know, Acosta's got his second press conference in a number of days to address one thing or another, and press releases flying back and forth. And, you know, these aren't these sort of candidates that are, you know, going to walk back and shrug it off. I think there's going to be some bad blood to carry on for a while.
And were any of the disagreements like substantive or policy based, or was this all really just personal, like dislike of one another?
Well, you know, they come from two totally different perspectives. You know, Chrissy Smith is a school board member and really, really serious about what she does, and approaches this job from a policy-making perspective. Dante Acosta paints in a broader brush, talks about, you know, bringing in the perspective of someone from, you know, what you would broadly call the business community. You know, more concerned with being overtaxed and overregulated and that kind of thing. It was as though they weren't speaking the same language. You know, it's maybe not a world she had a whole lot of experience with where he came from, and conversely, he made a lot of missteps early on, misstating a lot of basic facts about public education in the state of California, which makes up like 40% of our budget. So they were really have very different visions. So yeah, they were policy disagreements, but they were really talking about two completely separate agendas rather than necessarily disagreements over the same thing. So yeah, bit of everything.
I had a question. I wanted to ask if accusations like the ones you guys just talked about have a significant impact on a smaller race like this. So with the presidential elections, you have a lot of media coverage. With a smaller election, you might not. So does this really matter?
Well, I think these kinds of accusations are the kind that break through, and people who are like only marginally listening are sort of more inclined to go ahead and pay attention when all of a sudden, if people are having substantive debates over how money should be spent, where it's best allocated, what's the best approach to modifying things, that's not nearly as interesting as when you hear sexual harassment. So people who are sometimes on the fence and aren't really paying attention but feel it like it's their responsibility to vote, those are the kind of ads that you're talking about that go ahead and really capture their attention and motivate people to vote,
Right.
even if substantively they don't really understand the differences, the kind of fundamental like ideological differences that you're talking about.
Yeah, though you wonder how it really ends up playing out into voting behavior, because you know, even at the worst, if you take everything at face value, what he was accused of was a scintilla of what Trump is, you know, very credibly accused of. And you know, we may have just elected a president with some, you know, very serious allegations of sexual assault, if not confessions of. And so, I don't know, stirs up a lot of interest, but what difference does it make in the very end? It's going to be hard to tell.
Yeah. Back to you guys.
All right, guys, thank you so very much. And right now we're going to go to commercial, but don't go anywhere, because when we get back, we're going to have some updates for you.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Well, I gotta go, you guys. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Hey, Chris, how are you doing? I'll catch you later, okay?
See ya.
Nice seeing you. Hey, Maddie. How are you? How are you? What's up, girl? I'll see you later. Hey, what's up? How are you doing?
Okay, guys, we're about to go live. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Cougar News.
Welcome back. We have some new updates on propositions for you, and we're going to start off right now with Proposition 60, and it's for the adult film stars and the condom use, and right now it's at a no at 53.7%. We also have Proposition 57 for the parole eligibility, and that is at a 64.8% for yes. Now, Phil and Mike, everyone has been talking about Prop 60, which is adult films and condoms use and that kind of thing. So I have to ask, because a lot of people are saying, because they're very passionate on both sides of the fences with this, so I have to ask you guys, what do you say to people who say or take the stance that we don't tell them what to do at home in their own bedrooms? Why are we doing it to these adult stars?
So the argument is made, generally speaking, that the idea is that in any workplace, you're supposed to ensure that your workers are safe. And so we're sort of defining workers in an interesting way here. So the idea is to keep workers safe, and that's why we're talking about condoms. But I would suggest that this proposition has very little to do about keeping porn stars safe, because AIDS Project LA, which is obviously very concerned about this issue, they actually oppose this initiative. One of the things, we talk about this as the condom initiative, but I really think it should probably be called the lawsuit initiative, because one of the things it does is it goes ahead and it gives individual citizens a right to, if they think there's been a workplace violation on a porn film, that they can go ahead and request to Cal OSHA investigate, and if Cal OSHA doesn't respond in a timely manner, the citizen has a right to sue a number of people involved in the porn industry. So I would argue that what this is really about has less to do with condoms and more to do with an attempt to go ahead and drive the porn industry out of California.
Wow. You don't really get that from the public debate that surrounds that very often, but
it's a lot more interesting to talk about condoms and things like that. I did some presentations in front of some senior groups, and whenever we got this, one of them was in a church, and the pastor was there, and we started talking about this proposition. There was one older woman who covered her hands because she was kind of embarrassed about having this conversation in public about it. But it really is, I think, about lawsuits, and so the way it's been frequently discussed doesn't point out the power that it would give individual Californians to sue many people involved in the industry. So I would suggest that that's its primary goal.
Well, you know, I think a proposition like this is a good example for voters. When you encounter something and you've got to ask yourself the question, why am I even voting on this? Why is this a matter for us? Why is this not just a law that we're talking about with the legislature? You know, very often there is something weird behind it. Someone's making out or has got a plan to make a lot of money on the other side of this. And, you know, sometimes it's the most unlikely of places. Now, when you talk about lawsuits, any citizen of California have standing to or bring a complaint to Cal OSHA?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
So they can go ahead and call Cal OSHA, and then if Cal OSHA doesn't respond in a timely manner to an alleged workplace violation, that automatically gives them the right to sue. And so that's really what this proposition, the significance of it, was that particular provision, but not nearly, like you say, not nearly discussed as much as condoms were.
So it's trailing by a bit. Do you think that narrative has gotten out, or what do you think is swaying the popular feeling against this?
You know, I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, it's hard to know the extent to which people are responding to the commercials and what's going on. I don't know if people are just uncomfortable with even talking or thinking about porn. So it's hard to know what's going on.
All right. Well, I think.
Back. So
yeah.
I'm sorry. Back to the desk over there. My apologies.
Prop 57, we're at 64.4% yes. It's winning by a landslide. That's the one that allows parole consideration for nonviolent felons. Guys, I want to ask you, is this mostly about the money to be saved?
This is a particularly complicated measure because one of the things that most people don't know about California law is that there are 23 crimes that are considered violent felonies, and there are certain crimes that are not considered violent felonies that, by any sense of common sense, would be I would certainly characterize as violent. Like rape by intoxication is not listed as a violent offense, and so one of the things about this proposition that it does is it says that anybody who's been convicted of a non-violent felony is eligible for parole. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to get out of prison, doesn't mean that they're going to be set free, but it does mean that they become eligible. And so the goal of this was to try and bring the prison population down in California. I don't know how many people know, but the United States Supreme Court a few years back went ahead and said that the overcrowding in the California prisons was so bad that it actually violated the 8th Amendment of the Constitution that protects against cruel and unusual punishment. And so we were ordered to go ahead and reduce the population, the prison population. We did that in a previous proposition where we changed certain felonies to misdemeanors. And this is another attempt to go ahead and get this done. And so in this proposition, one of the challenges is our prison population needs to be brought down. Whether this is a good measure or a bad measure is for every voter to decide. But lurking in the background is the idea that if we don't reduce the size of our population, the federal courts might do it themselves.
Right. And, you know, what's seemed to be a hot button issue is that list of felonies that a common sense definition would say is a violent felony, but it just so happens that under California law it's not classified as such. And if you could clarify something for me, normally when a proposition is passed, it can't be changed by anything else but another proposition. But we're not enshrining that rape by intoxication is a nonviolent felony, right? I mean, the legislature can go ahead and call things violent felonies, and now they'd fall under the...
Right, absolutely. So the legislation can simply change and characterize rape by intoxication, other kinds of things that are not considered as violent felonies. They could go ahead and just modify the law, and so those particular crimes would be reclassified as violent felonies, or they can even come up with a separate classification for them, that would exclude them from the outcome of this proposition. But right now, it looks like it's losing anyway. So this might be an entirely academic discussion. So,
how would you How would you reconcile the support for things like keeping capital punishment with what some might consider to be some pretty strong soft on crime measures, if you will, between Prop 47 and Prop 57?
Well, you know what I think really what it comes down to is I think it just reflects a frustration with the system as a whole. And so I think that's kind of being manifest. Back to you guys.
We're going to take a quick break. After this break, we're going to have Sammy Giebers. She's going to be calling in live from the GOP party at Robinson Ranch. Stay tuned.
This is how you say, it's going to be okay, to someone who just lost everything. That yes, we'll find you somewhere to stay. And yes, your children will have breakfast. Every 8 minutes, the Red Cross responds to a disaster and makes this promise. Help us keep it.
They've been very caring. They care about every single student that's in the class.
Yeah, everyone seems to be like pretty friendly with each other. Like, no one's really afraid to ask each other for help.
Working with other people, not being ornery, actually, listening to what people say, collaborating with them to create a really good product.
It's great to use the same stuff the pros use, especially at a community college.
Hopefully we give them a pathway to have their creativity showcased.
I've gotten a great education.
I love the access to equipment.
I've made lifelong friendships. I have great teachers.
What? This? Watch.
It's estimated that California will need 11 trillion gallons of water to end this 4-year drought.
Since 1994, COC has made an effort to ensure all structures on campus are built with earthquakes in mind.
The importance of accuracy is key to Paul Bond's reporting. Such a story where facts could be easily exaggerated might just cause Bond to return back to South Korea.
Although filming at College of the Canyons generates upwards of $1 million a year.
Today, everyone is here to celebrate one thing: life.
More than 3,000 participants ran locally in support for finding a cure for spinal cord injury.
What are you doing? Go watch the news or something. Awesome town, I swear.
Presidential election update. It looks like Donald Trump is now 6 electoral votes away from the presidency. Obviously, some shocking results coming in today. We want to shift gears now. Samantha Giebers, Cougar News reporter, is out at the GOP party in Robinson Ranch. She's joining us live
right now
via telephone.
Interview. That's right. Sammy, are you there?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Well, Sammy, you are at the GOP party, and you've been there for a while now, and the Republican nominee is on the verge of pulling off the biggest upset in U.S. history. Tell us what it's like, what the atmosphere is like where you're at right now.
Yeah, well, I'm also here with Sade Easterling, and what we've experienced is that everyone is really happy. There's so much positivity here, and it looks like all of the other local races are doing very well. Everyone looks like they're ahead in the polls. Everyone's cheering every half hour. So everyone's pretty happy, and they're looking forward to change. That's what a lot of them are saying.
Now, have you gotten any reaction from candidates about possibly having a Republican president by tomorrow morning?
Yeah, this is Shop speaking. I spoke to Scott Wilk, and he was really explaining how he is really excited, for Trump and just the environment. Just like Sammy said, everyone was happy. Everyone had a great time, and they were all really excited.
Steve Knight was saying that, he didn't endorse Trump, but he did admit to voting for Trump. So he's happy that there's going to be a change. It looks like there might be some concern. It's going to be hard to pull everyone together because there's a lot of controversy with Trump, and a lot of people aren't super happy with the way that it looks like the election could be going. But it looks like, at least here in Robinson Ranch, that everyone's pretty happy with everything that's going on. So everything looks pretty good for the Republicans right now.
Now, when you spoke tonight, you did mention that he said that he didn't support him in the past, but if it does so happen that Trump ends up taking the 270 votes, and it looks like that he will, electoral votes, did Knight say that he would essentially fall in line and start supporting him as his president?
Well, he basically said that, I was mad at what he was saying, but I didn't say that I wouldn't vote for him. So looks like he cast his ballot for Trump. That's what he admitted to. So it looks like he is going to support Trump. He did admit that he didn't like a lot of the things that Trump said about women. There's this long list that goes on, but it looks like that Steve Knight is kind of standing by Trump and is looking forward to change if Trump does take the presidential.
Sammy, how are they celebrating over there?
Well, they're just having a good time. Yeah. They're making a lot of speeches, and they're introducing their wives, introducing their families, and it looks like there's a few drinks here and there.
Yeah.
But everyone's smiling, everyone's meeting each other. All the candidates were open to interviews and whatnot. I didn't receive any negativity throughout this entire process. So, everything's pretty positive. It was positive in the beginning, and it's positive right now.
It's a good night for the Republicans.
Yes. Looks like it.
Thank you, Sammy, for joining us.
Yes, Sammy, Sade, thank you guys so much. You're doing an excellent job getting some great reports out there in the field for us. But it looks like we're going to get some updates right now on some local races. And we're going to start with the 25th Congressional District. Steve Knight is sitting pretty at 54.9% right now.
21st State Senate District is Scott Wilk in the lead at 57.2%. Jonathan Irvin's trailing. 38th State Assembly District, Dante Acosta has a lead of 54.2% over Christy Smith's 45.8%. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more live election updates.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Well, I gotta go, you guys. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Hey, Chris, how are you doing? I'll catch you later, okay?
See ya.
Nice seeing you. Hey, Maddie. How are you? How are you? What's up, girl? I'll see you later. Hey, what's up? How are you doing?
Okay, guys, we're about to go live. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Cougar News.
Welcome back. We are now joined by Shawnee Badger, a former delegate for Bernie Sanders. Shawnee, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Absolutely.
You know that you've said in the past that you openly say that you are a Democrat, you a Bernie Sanders supporter, and you're a millennial.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you right off the bat about your thoughts on the events that forced Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the chairman of the DNC at the time, to abruptly resign after leaked emails allegedly showed party officials conspiring to sabotage the campaign of Senator Sanders, who you were in support of.
Yes. Well, I am a huge supporter of WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, and the stuff that has come out of those emails has been heartbreaking for me. I function on emotion, so it's honestly just heartbreaking, you know, to see the way that Debbie colluded against Bernie, the way that the debate schedule was manipulated to have fewer debates at certain times. For me, I just see that as unfair. I see that as putting the hand on one side of the scale for a candidate that she obviously was biased towards. You know, some of the stuff she said in those emails about Bernie, like he's never gonna win, amongst many other things, just, yeah, I just see that as very unfair and an insult to me. I identified as a Democrat. It was part of who I was. I was very vocal about my party affiliation, and now I'm just ashamed.
Oh, wow. Those are some strong words,
Yeah.
but I'm glad that you're back. You believe in something and you go for it 100%. Now, Phil, what are your thoughts?
Well, Shawnee and I have been discussing this for quite a while, and so I have to assume that aside from Sanders losing the primaries, that there are implications now in the election now,
Yes.
because it seems that in the very areas that I'm sure you believe that Bernie Sanders would have been very strong, the Rust Belt, obviously Donald Trump is doing much better than Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump's message, as far as trade goes, was very similar to Bernie Sanders. You think, I'm assuming you believe that had he been the nominee, we'd be looking at a Bernie Sanders presidency instead of like staring at the possibility of a Trump presidency.
Absolutely, I 100% stand by that. I think that, you know, the Nate Silver poll, I had like when I was at convention, I had this huge laminated sign with like the poll that predicted Trump would win. And I walked around with that and I got hate for it, and people said I was, I should get off my meds. But I mean, this is, a lot of Bernie supporters predicted that this would happen, and it's also horrible to see that it's affecting down ticket races here locally. Congress, Senate, Assembly, it's like, I honestly think if Bernie was the nominee, we would be looking at a Bernie Sanders presidency, but I think we'd also be looking at more Democrat wins down the ticket.
Yeah, that's understandable. Did you have a question?
Where do you think the Democratic Party goes forward from here now?
I honestly, I don't know. It's going to take a lot to win back the trust of the people. I do think, however, I don't know, I'm not a political scientist, I don't have a degree in this, so I don't know, but just based on what I've seen and my own just feelings on the matter, I think that the good thing that might come out of a Donald Trump presidency would be after, you know, after 4 years or maybe impeachment, or I don't know what would happen, I think we would see like a very swift, progressive uprising come out of that.
Well, speaking of being progressive, you know, Donald Trump is 6 electoral votes away from winning the presidency. Do you think that he can represent the progressive voters?
No.
Not at all.
No, absolutely not. I mean, he's He's definitely not your run-of-the-mill. He's definitely not, he doesn't present himself as establishment in the way that he carries himself and the way that he speaks. But, I mean, his policy is as far right as, I mean, you could go.
But do you think Hillary would have been able to help on those progressive voters? Do you think that she would have been able to do more for them?
I think that her, the platform that she runs on is more progressive than Donald Trump. I think that's goes without saying. But whether or not she would actually do it, whether or not she would actually vote against the TPP, whether she would actually, you know, take a World War III-like action against climate change, whether she would abide by the Democratic platform, I don't think so. I personally see both candidates as equally bad, just in completely different ways.
And then, given that Bernie had a more progressive message, clearly, than Donald Trump, and yet it looks like, as a result of this election, the Republicans are going to go ahead and control the White House, the Senate, and the House. Yeah. Where in that do you see, where in that do you see, like a call for a movement in a progressive direction? Doesn't it look like the country's actually moving in a more conservative direction?
I don't think so. I feel like, from what I've observed from people that I know who support Trump, it's not so much a want or a desire to move to the right as it is a desire to move away from politics as usual, establishment politics. So I think that a lot of people voted for Donald Trump just on that reason alone, that he's not run-of-the-mill, he's not politics as usual, or that's at least how he presents himself because of his way he carries himself, his rhetoric. Yeah, but I really do think that out of Donald Trump's presidency, I really do think that we will see a progressive uprising,
and
hopefully.
Then, if you don't mind, and then sure. Where do you go from here?
Yeah, I am going to keep fighting. I am not as terrified of Donald Trump as a lot of people seem to be. I just think a lot of it's fear-mongering. I think it's, I mean, I understand the fear, but I do think that moving to Canada is not the solution. I think we need to stay in America. I think we need to fight for progressive values. Yeah, I'm personally going to keep fighting. I'm going to North Dakota in a week and a half to go protest the Dakota Access Pipeline, and I would encourage everybody else to. Also, whenever the TPP comes back up, we need to stop that. So yeah, I think we just all need to stick together and fight for progressive values.
Well, I think you have a very good plan of exactly what you want to do and what you want to accomplish, and I look forward to seeing big things come from you. You seem very kind. Thank you so much for coming here and talking with us tonight, and thank you so much, Phil. Thank you. And right now we're going to head to commercial. We'll see you guys in a few minutes.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Well, I gotta go, you guys. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Hey, Chris. How are you doing? I'll catch you later, okay?
See ya.
Nice seeing you. Hey, Maddie. How are you? How are you? What's up, girl? I'll see you later. Hey, what's up? How are you doing?
Okay, guys, we're about to go live. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Cougar News.
Welcome back. Our field reporters are out at the Democratic Party. They're at Pocock Brewery with some interviews.
Today was hectic. I had to be, I have a real job on top of everything else of being mom and wife and candidate. So last night I drove down to Long Beach because I had an 8 a.m. meeting this morning, and I was able to get out of the meeting at noon so that I could rush back up here to do the last minute phone banking, trying to get more voters and more votes and just get people to the polls. I'm also an administrator for the Santa Clarita Facebook community page. I put it out there in June that if anybody needed any help or a ride, I don't care who you're voting for, but if you need transportation to the polls, I'm putting my minivan. I have the mom van, so I put it out there and said anybody who needs a ride can call me. I would donate my van for service, and it's been a crazy day. It's just been a crazy day.
So how do you feel having putting your life in a semi-pause and taking on this position of running for possibly representing, being the representative of a water board position?
It's been fun. I guess I'm a high stress person. I deal well under pressure, and I take stress very well, and it's definitely stressful. Campaigning sucks. I will just put that out there. It does. It's exhausting. It's nerve-wracking, but at the same time, it's noble and fulfilling, and I get great happiness from service.
Would you do this again, knowing what it takes?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What were some of your biggest challenges that maybe you didn't see from the beginning?
Being at the back of the ballot is always a challenge because the people are always focused on presidential races and congressional races and even assembly and state senate. Those races tend to get more attention just because they're higher profile. So when they moved all the elections to even year elections and even year November elections, it makes it a little bit more difficult for fundraising because we're all drawing from the same well. We're all trying to get campaign funds for our individual races, and it's been a challenge. I don't know if other people have had it, but I got lucky. I was able to do a fairly decent showing with fundraising, but that's always a big challenge. That's the biggest hurdle really for any candidate, and if they tell you that it's not, they're not being honest.
All right, guys, we do have some breaking news. We have just found out that Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States.
That's AP reporting that.
Yes, AP has just reported that, and we are telling you this now. I think a lot of people are upset. I think a lot of people are very excited.
This was not expected.
No, it wasn't. The media said that this wasn't going to happen, that Hillary was going to win.
Let's look at the numbers right now. Donald J. Trump has 276 delegate counts. Hillary Clinton's at 218. Mike and Phil, I want to throw it to you, and I want to get reaction about our 45th president, Donald J. Trump.
Right. Well, the first thing I'd point out is that the AP has called it. CNN and Fox News still have not called it, but So it's still a little bit up in the air. But having said that, it's still all of them look like they're moving in the same direction. So it's that appears to be the case. The only thing I would say is that when you were talking, you were saying that the media said Hillary Clinton was going to win. It wasn't the media that was saying Hillary Clinton was going to win. It was political scientists. It was pollsters who were going ahead and running analysis after analysis, and then the analyses were all producing the same result. There was a convergence in the polls towards the end, and obviously they got something wrong. So this isn't just the media going ahead and reporting that she was going to win. The media was reporting the results of what pollsters and political scientists, of which I am one, were saying was likely to happen, and apparently we got something wrong.
Is this one of the biggest political upsets you've seen?
Well, in my life, yeah, absolutely. I mean, because it was so clear that what the polls are saying. I mean, I had people talking to me about, what was going to happen. And I said, look, this isn't really in question. It's a matter of when it's going to go ahead and when it's going to be called. Is it going to be an early night or is it going to be a late night? And it seemed like it was trending towards the idea that it was going to be an early night. That has not been how it's gone down. So, but again, this wasn't just the media reporting this. This was political scientists. These were pollsters who do this for a living, who I can only conclude one thing is we got it wrong.
Well, we're still facing the very real possibility that Hillary Clinton could have more votes than Donald Trump, especially with so many votes not counted in California. And I wonder, how many times can we take this? How many times can we go through a situation with fewer electoral, the electoral vote winning? Well, I guess we'll pick that up later.
Right.
Back to you guys.
Back to you guys.
Well, that's a lot of information that they had right there, and I don't know what it is that went awry, that they got the numbers that they did, that Hillary's going to come in, but it's now set up on Politico. They are now saying President Trump right now. So we will be talking more about this when we get back from commercial, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.
The American Red Cross urgently needs blood and platelet donations and asks donors to schedule an appointment to give now. Every 2 seconds, someone in the United States needs blood. Your blood donation is critical and can help save lives. Please, schedule an appointment today. Download the Blood Donor app, visit redcrossblood.org, or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. You can make a difference.
They've been very caring. They care about every single student that's in the class.
Yeah, everyone seems to be pretty friendly with each other. No one's really afraid to ask each other for help.
Working with other people, not being ornery, actually, listening to what people say, collaborating with them to create a really good product.
It's great to use the same stuff the pros use, especially at a community college.
Hopefully we give them a pathway to have their creativity showcased.
I've gotten a great education.
I love the access to equipment.
I've made lifelong friendships.
I have great teachers.
What business has excellent customer service, smiling employees, and great food? Chopper's Pizza Place. Eat more pizza.
We have some more election results coming in now. We have the California Senate race, Kamala Harris with a dominating lead over Loretta Sanchez. She's at 65%. So Mike, Phil, this was expected. What do you guys make of this?
pretty interesting race. I mean, Democrat versus Democrat, something we don't see very often on the national stage, but it made sense, I guess, with the dynamics of the two parties in California.
Yeah, she clearly had a stronger campaign from the very beginning and a lot of backing as well within the state. So, and I think President Obama came and campaigned on her behalf, and so this was not entirely unexpected.
Right, right. So I wonder if we may see some future. I think times like this, all the paradigms shift, the benches get cleared. I think, that's a figure. Kamala Harris may have a big future. One of very few Indian American members of Congress, I believe the first in the Senate, only the second African American woman to ever serve in Congress, and a big legal background, all kinds of future, and a little scintilla of optimism for the beleaguered Democratic Party tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Let's look at the results for the 25th Congressional District now. So Steve Knight is at 54.9%. He's currently in the lead over Brian Caforio at 45.1%. Mike, Phil, did you think when you woke up this morning that you'd go to bed with a Republican Congress, a Republican Senate, and a Republican president?
Well, I was pretty sure that we were going to go to bed with a Republican House. I mean, they clearly had a good hold on the House, and the Senate was very much up in the air.
Right.
The idea that we would have unified government, that we would have Republicans controlling all the Congress and the White House, that wasn't what I expected. But this opens up the possibility for other big changes as well. So, for example, as we talked about earlier, the Supreme Court nominee that's still in waiting. I mean, I think it's unlikely that Merrick Garland is going to go ahead and be moved in the lame duck session before,
Right. What a mess we have on our hands. I mean, all kinds of precedents being broken. So we've never really had a nominee sit that long, and to go over from one president to another, and it could change at least maintain the balance of the court. It's something else, very different than the world we woke up in, I suppose.
Also, and then we were talking before about whether or not how people who, especially Republicans, who hadn't been particularly supportive of President-elect Trump, we saw in Representative Knight a sort of change in tone when he was interviewed earlier this evening.
Well, right. I mean, he, I think, was one of only 2 Republican members of Congress in California who wouldn't support Donald Trump. And it was really interesting in this interview there. He said he made no secret of being able to, of intending to vote for him. But he couldn't have been more evasive. It's so interesting to see how quickly the stories change now that the guy who no one really expected is now president. Suddenly, they were all pals back then.
And that augurs well for President-elect Trump, that people who were reluctant to go ahead and get behind him may be going ahead and sort of changing their minds and maybe more willing to follow his lead.
Yeah, few people in Congress gave themselves an opportunity. I mean, left themselves in a hole they couldn't get themselves out of.
Right. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Mike and Phil. I just want to elaborate on the local race numbers we've been giving you. 44.2% of precincts have reported in for the U.S. Senate race in California. 27.8% have reported in for Congress, 19.7% for Assembly, and 36.5% for State Senate. We're going to take it to commercial break. We'll be right back.
This is how you say, it's going to be okay, to someone who just lost everything. That yes, we'll find you somewhere to stay. And yes, your children will have breakfast. Every 8 minutes, the Red Cross responds to a disaster and makes this promise. Help us keep it.
They've been very caring. They care about every single student that's in the class.
Yeah, everyone seems to be pretty friendly with each other. No one's really afraid to ask each other for help.
working with other people, not being ornery, actually listening to what people say, collaborating with them to create a really good product.
It's great to use the same stuff the pros use, especially at a community college.
Hopefully we give them a pathway to have their creativity showcased.
I've gotten a great education.
I love the access to equipment.
I've made lifelong friendships.
I have great teachers.
What? This? Watch.
It's estimated that California will need 11 trillion gallons of water to end this 4-year drought.
Since 1994, COC has made an effort to ensure all structures on campus are built with earthquakes in mind.
The importance of accuracy is key to Paul Bond's reporting. Such a story where facts could be easily exaggerated might just cause Bond to return back to South Korea.
Although filming at College of the Canyons generates upwards of $1 million a year.
Today, everyone is here to celebrate one thing: life.
More than 3,000 participants ran locally in support for finding a cure for spinal cord injury.
What are you doing? Go watch the news or something. Awesome town, I swear.
Welcome back. We're going to give a total recap on all of the propositions here in California, beginning with Prop 51. It's going to authorize $9 billion in general obligation bonds for new construction and modernization of K-12 public school facilities. Right now, we have a 52.7% yes vote on Prop 51.
Moving on to Prop 52, Medi-Cal hospital fee program. It'll extend indefinitely an existing statute that imposes fees on hospitals to fund Medi-Cal health care services. And right now, that is a resounding yes at 69.9%.
Prop 53, a yes vote on this measure means state revenue bonds totaling more than $2 billion for a project that is funded, owned, or managed by the state would require statewide voter approval. Right now, that's a tight race. We have 50.8% no on that, 49.2% yes.
Moving on to Prop 54, a yes vote on this measure means any bill, including changes to the bill, would have to be made available to legislators and posted on the internet for at least 72 hours before it could pass. Prop 54 right now is sitting at 63.9% with a yes.
Prop 55 extends by 12 years the temporary personal income tax enacted in 2012 on earnings over $250,000, with revenues allocated to K-12 schools, California community colleges, and, in certain years, healthcare. We have a 61.7% yes vote on Prop 55.
Prop 56 is the cigarette tax. It would increase it by $2 per pack, with equivalent increases on all other tobacco products and electronic cigarettes as well, anything containing nicotine. Right now, that prop is sitting at a yes with 62.2%.
Prop 57 allows parole consideration for nonviolent felons, and right now that sits at a 64.3% yes vote.
Prop 58, the English proficiency prop, preserves a requirement that public schools ensure students obtain English language proficiency. And right now that is sitting at 72.5% in the yes category.
Prop 59 asks whether California elected officials should use their authority to propose and ratify an amendment to the federal Constitution overturning the United States Supreme Court decision in Citizens United v. Federal Election Commission. Right now we have a tight race in that one. That's a 52.9% yes vote.
Prop 60, the adult films using condoms prop, requires all adult film performers to use condoms during filming of sexual intercourse. Prop 60 is now sitting at a no at 53.9%.
Prop 61 prohibits states from buying any prescription drug from a drug manufacturer at prices over the lowest price paid by the drug. Let me start this one over. This is the prop that prohibits states from buying any prescription drug from a drug manufacturer at prices that are any higher than the lowest price paid by the drug by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. We have a 54.3% no vote on Prop 61.
Prop 62 is the death penalty. It will repeal death penalty and replace it with life imprisonment without possibility of parole. Prop 62 is sitting right now as a no vote with 54.6%.
The firearms prop, number 63, requires background check and Department of Justice authorization to purchase ammunition. Right now we have a 62.5% vote yes on Prop 63.
Prop 64, marijuana legalization. Under this state law, for use of adults 21 and older, it imposed state taxes and sales and cultivation. Proposition 64 is now sitting at yes with 55.6% of the vote.
Prop 65 redirects money collected by grocery and certain other retail stores through mandated sales of carry-out bags. We have a 55.9% rather no vote on Prop 65.
Prop 66 is about the death penalty and changes procedures governing state court challenges to death sentences. A yes vote on this measure means court procedures for legal challenges to death sentences would be subject to various changes. Proposition 66 is sitting at 51.5% in the yes category.
Finally, Prop 67 is the ban on single-use plastic bags. We have a 51.6% yes vote on Prop 67. Mike, Phil, what do you make of all the props that we just went over?
Well, part of it is interesting because, California is clearly a very liberal state, and so it's not particularly surprising some of these propositions, 55 that increases, that maintains the tax on the wealthiest Californians, or increasing taxes on tobacco. These are allowing for changes in the way that English is taught, legalizing marijuana, ammunition control. And yet, on the other hand, Bernie Sanders was a strong supporter of Proposition 61 that tied what state agencies could pay for drugs to the VA, and he was very active in pushing this, and yet it appears to be losing. And once again, we talked about this before, the death penalty, which you typically associate it as being sort of a more repealing it as being a more liberal position, and yet it appears to be losing at this point.
Right.
So California's an interesting place to live.
And so we're legalizing marijuana. What does that mean exactly?
Well, what it means is that recreational marijuana, which I guess is everything that medicinal marijuana. I mean, I'm not sure why don't they don't just call it marijuana, period.
Right.
What it means is that it can be, if this passes, that you can smoke it in your home, but it has to be not in public view, and you'll be able to smoke it in businesses that are licensed to have people smoke there in the same way bars have to get a license to serve alcohol. It also gives individuals the ability to grow up to 6 plants in their own home, but wherever they grow, it has to be locked and hidden from public view. But it won't be the case that you can go to Ralph's and go down the marijuana aisle and pick your marijuana of choice. It wouldn't be in liquor stores. It wouldn't be sold in that way. It would still be comparable to the dispensaries that are used now.
So can cities still ban this in the way they ban dispensaries?
Yeah, cities have the ability to go ahead and set up rules within their own jurisdiction, and it gives them that ability to do so. The one thing that it can't do that happened previously with the medicinal marijuana was they could make it illegal if you were in an area that allowed it and you transported marijuana through one that didn't allow it, and to go to a place that did allow it, you could actually be arrested.
Okay.
They've gotten rid of that, so you can still transport through areas if they have other kinds of restrictions.
And is there any concern amongst advocates that a Trump presidency may be not as lenient as the Obama administration has been when it comes to enforcing federal marijuana laws?
I haven't heard anything about that, but in large part, I think because polls were showing Hillary Clinton winning this. But that's a good question, because what most people don't understand is that when even if marijuana is legalized in the state of California, it's still a a federal violation of the federal law. And so you can be following the law in the state of California, but still have the feds come down. And so if the Trump administration decides to go ahead and enforce federal law, that changes everything.
Yeah.
Back to you guys.
Thank you, Mike and Phil. We're going to take a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Well, I gotta go, you guys. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Hey, Chris, how are you doing? I'll catch you later, okay?
See ya.
Nice seeing you. Hey, Maddie. How are you? How are you? What's up, girl? I'll see you later. Hey, what's up? How are you doing?
Okay, guys, we're about to go live. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Cougar News.
And welcome back, guys. We have 2 more election updates for you, and we're going to start right out with some local stuff. Santa Clarita City Council, Bob Keller at 26.26% and Cameron Smythe at 24.54%.
Tim Ben Boydston coming up with 14%. We seem to have lost our graphic there. We're going to move on to, oh, there it is. We have Mark White. He's at 3.05% and Alan Ferdman 8.94%.
We also have Paul Wizerak at 2.06%, Kenneth Dean at 6.92%, David Ruelas at 2.45%,
Brett Haddock at 2.69%, Matthew Hargett at 4.25%, and Sandra Nichols at 4.74%. We're going to move on to the COC Board of Trustees, District 2 now, as we seem to have lost our graphic again. Bruce Fortine is at 40.49%.
Adele Alonso at 38.24%.
And Rhonda Baldwin Kennedy rounding it out with 21.27%. We want to thank many people tonight. We have a big crew of people who helped put the show together. We want to thank camera operators, Faith Jeffries, Alvin Alguilas, Bina Mukondi, Lena Bird, Lene Bird, Haley Hughes, Connor Williams, Callie Thompson, Luis Gomez.
We have some production assistants, Matthew Yahata and Mariah Hayes, to thank.
Assistant directors, Lori Bastion and Zachary Allo.
Technical director, Temiato Ashalasi.
And our graphics department is Harrison Kane, Taylor Enns, and Jessica Boyer.
Our prompter, Betty Varela.
And audio, Andrew Kelly, Billy Gilbert.
Floor, Christiane Kimberlin, Aldo Canepa.
Our editors, Jose Franco, Brandon Iriarte, Taylor Villanueva, and Haley Cook.
In the field, we have Sammy Giebers, Sade Easterling, Monica Rodriguez, Griffin Davis, Ryan Lopez, Brazita Hogan, Bryant Ariarty, Andrew Gold, Jazz Pyatt.
Our men at the helm are directors, Jacob Sykes and Leo Gonzalez.
Engineering, we'd like to thank Michael Mazzetti, Ron Etrican, Daniel Leary.
Our producer, Skylar Barty, he put the whole show together.
Yep, and we'd also like to thank Canyons Radio, John Amador, Xander Blake, and Josh Thomas.
And of course, our executive producer and mentor, Dave Brill.
Special thanks to Leon Warden for the generous use of his studio, Topper's Pizza for all the delicious food that they fed us and the crew.
And of course, to our live guests tonight, Phil Gusson and Mike Devlin. We appreciate you guys coming up and showing off your expertise.
Yes, thank you guys so very much.
That was great.
Well, that'll wrap it up. I'm Austin Westfall.
And I'm Kimberly Pressler. On behalf of everybody here at Cougar News, make sure you check us out at cougarnews.com. And thank you so very much for joining us tonight. We'll see you next time.